Okay, it looks like it's good that no one was on yet. So boom, we're live. This is the Mad Poet coming at you from CGNS Studios, middle of nowhere, Eastern Washington. Welcome to the stream. All right. So I'm just kind of getting situated here. We are working on some compositions tonight. We'll be chatting, and I'll probably be fiddling around with my guitar as I do. It's kind of my thing. So we're working on, as you can see here, an album called When the Last Heart Breaks. Anyone who's been following me for a while knows that I haven't put out an album for quite a while. By my timeline, it's been quite a while. It's been about a half a year. And so my next album is going to be called Incomprehensible Isolation. This is not a reference to the current pandemic situation. It's actually from another streamer's bio. And he's very stoked about that. So the only reason that album is delayed is really just kind of production stuff that I'm working on, that I've been fiddling with. So that's kind of what's going on with that. So this will be an upcoming album. I don't know exactly where this will be in the rotation or anything, but we're just kind of fiddling around, chatting, having fun. So it looks like I've written 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 10 songs on this, 6.5. So we're just going to kind of jump into something fresh here, see where it leads us. So what do we got? We got Black Moon Rising. Looks like it's going to be kind of a nice driving, high speed and high intensity kind of thing. It Must Simply Be. It's kind of got a good drum. Again, for anyone who may not be familiar with my process, I tend to write an entire album. I outline it with just the drums, and that's kind of a foundation upon which all the rest of the music will be sitting. Excuse me. So everything else is just going to sit up on top of the drums. That's my foundation. Then I'll go in and start writing bass and guitars, and I'll do any orchestration, any synths or string pads or organs, pianos, whatever. I don't always do it exactly that order, but that's kind of my typical thing. So I'm just seeing what we've got going on here and which of these I might like. Looks like these 3 remaining songs are all kind of high speed. Walk Down the Path. This one might be worth working on. Let's fiddle with Walk Down the Path. Let's go into that and see if that leads us to anything worth noting here. I'm still just kind of rearranging a few things within my system to kind of monitor what's going on, hopefully. Okay. Cool. So a couple different windows going on here that I'll be flipping back and forth through. That's not really entirely necessary for the stream, but just some stuff I would like to be able to check out a little more closely. So I've got my chat window up, got my event list up, got my OBS is running, my Spelius is running, got my guitar stuff going. Let's write some music. So a lot of times when I'm starting to compose, I will start out with just looking at what I've already done with the drums. So the drums are all laid out, and I'll put these notes in. Like here we see this, that I've put a note in, established 16th note pattern. And so that's basically saying, let me switch over to a distorted tone here. This is definitely going to be distorted guitar on a piece like this. So this is saying, I'm probably going to get going with some sort of an ostinato. Ostinato, for those who may not be familiar, is just kind of a repeated pattern of notes. So you can do anything like that. You hear ostinato all the time in like action sequences for movies. A lot on like string sections and stuff. Sometimes on synthesizers, and it's a very good kind of driving feeling. And here, I think what I probably had in mind is that because I've got these whole notes on the drums, that this would be a good place to have the guitars kind of come in and just start raging right away. So that's probably what I was thinking. I don't really know what I was thinking at the time because I don't even remember when I set these drums down. So, and that's always an interesting aspect of the compositional process is like, okay, I don't even know what I was thinking here because I did this on another day or sometimes in another month. And so it's like, well, whatever I had in mind, since I don't remember it, I'll just go with what I've got now and see where that leads me. There was one time, I don't remember what album this was on, but I had set something up intentionally. I put a key signature in for B minor, and I had a reason for that. And then and that was when I was setting the drums up. I was okay. This needs to be in B minor, and I had something in my head for that. And I got to the part where I'm working with the guitars. I'm like, I have no idea why this was supposed to be in B minor. Hey, Therese, what's going on, gal? Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. But yeah, so I had no idea why I had set that up for B minor. And so I was like, well, the key signature's already there. I'll just write this in B minor. And I don't know if I accomplished what I originally was thinking or not. But speaking of key signatures, let's see what we've got in this album so far. So we've got some D minor, E minor. We've got two pieces in G sharp minor, B flat minor, which is always awesome, an A minor, a C minor. I think that A minor is probably actually an E Phrygian. Manrat, hey, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, that would be an E Phrygian. Thanks for coming in. It's good to see you guys. Always nice to have people hanging out, and feel free to ask questions. This is something I sometimes do. Well, I'll just sit and work on my compositional process. And so today we're writing a song called Walk Down the Path. And yeah, feel free to ask all the questions you want about it at any time. I love talking about music theory, about compositional concepts and ideas. And I know I invited a few of my students in who are composition students, so they might have some questions about where I'm going. And yeah, should be a good time. So yeah, looks like we've got, I don't think I've got it. Yeah, okay, I've got one E minor here. You know, I think I'm gonna go in, just because I haven't done it on this album, I think I'm gonna get some F minor going here. F minor is a fun key on the guitar because you only have one open string available. And in B flat minor, you don't have any of your open strings available. I'm assuming a standard tuning in this. Oh, you watched the smoke machine catching on fire. Oh, that was an exciting night. That was interesting. So yeah, F minor, it's B flat minor, you don't have any open strings available, and I love doing that. I do have one of those in here. F minor, you only have the third string, the G string, available. And so if you accidentally hit any of the other strings, you will be out of tune. And so it's a much less common key to play in. And definitely a lot of people avoid it just for those reasons. It's a little more challenging. You know, you don't have those open strings to fall back to. But I really like the way that F minor sits on a guitar. I actually find a lot of it to be very comfortable for the way my fingers flow through the different modal positions. Oh, your first guitar is supposed to come in tomorrow. Dude, that is awesome. You're gonna have a blast. Playing guitar is such a great journey. It's a frustrating journey at times. I know Therese, who's on here, is a bass player and has been for a very long time. I've been playing guitar for decades, probably close to 4 decades now, 37 years probably. Just turned 50 yesterday, so it's been a while. Yeah, it can be a frustrating journey, but you're gonna learn a lot. And there's just so many cool things about it. So I hope you have a great time with it. So let's get this pattern going. Let's get an ostinato set up. Ostinato is the plural. Ostinato is the singular. Ostinati is the plural. And yeah, you know, a lot of times I would start here, which would be the lowest F note on a guitar, be the first fret. E being the actual lowest note. But I think kind of going up a little higher for the start of this might work well. Get some 16th notes. So this is 136. Yeah, let's get some 16ths going. Now, a lot of times I'll just get kind of a little random throwing my notes in here. And then I'll play through it and see what's actually going on. Hey, thanks guys. Much appreciated. This is going to be a funky ostinato here. Let's see how that works. And this is where I just kind of start modifying things to be like, okay, what do I musically want to have happen here? And I think that if we actually take these here, that actually ends up kind of getting to be a pretty cool little series right there. Another question is, how fast is this going to flow through here? Pretty fast. That's pretty quick. I think I want to throw this up to here. Okay. Getting somewhere now. And then there's always this question about, where's going to be the best place on a guitar to play it? When you start studying guitar, you find that with the exception of only a few notes, this is true on both bass and guitar, it's really any kind of stringed instruments, violins, banjos, mandolins, whatever. There's only a few notes that can only be played in one place. And these are your few on the very low end and a few on your very high end. Is all that you're stuck right there. But so. Here, I like that better, and some people like the open strings, but there's definitely an interesting thing that goes on with guitars specifically, that if you play the same note in two different places, for example, I'm playing an E note on string 1, I play the same E note on string 2, same E note on string 3, same E note on string 4, those all have a subtly different tone to them. And I'm definitely liking the tone better. It'll take a bit of practice to get this to where I want it. Now, I don't think I want an exact repeat of this, but I think that a modification of this will be pretty good. Okay, here's where we can go. Keep the 6/5 there. Basically, you set this one up as a sequence. So you basically took the same idea and just dropped it by one position. And I think putting that like that could be kind of cool. That's not a bad little riff. Yeah, I'm kind of liking that. That's okay there. All right, I'm just kind of monitoring a couple of things on here to see what's going on. Looking at this in a few different things. Okay, cool. Very cool. And a little of this, a little of that. Get back to my sheet music. And then a lot of times what we'll do is once we've established an ostinato, we will simply repeat it. And repetition in music, oh, thank you. Yeah, I've had this one for years. This one, kind of a fun story. I love the Ibanez sabers. They're very thin on the edges. And the way I understand the story that happened at Ibanez is the powers that be at Ibanez went to the engineers and said, we want you to make a guitar out of mahogany and make it light. And the engineers were like, excuse us, mahogany's heavy. And they said, you're engineers. do your thing. And so what they came up with is they just kind of trimmed them down nice and thin on the edges to get rid of a lot of the weight, and they're just a lovely guitar. So I've always liked. I've got two of the Sabres, like this, and then the one over here. It's kind of hard to point back there. Is also that one's black, and I got that a couple years ago from a buddy of mine. It's kind of a project guitar. Hey Doc, what's going on, buddy? So when I was looking at this, I picked this one up probably, I don't know, late 90s, but I wanted to get one of these, but I didn't want a black one or a white one or a gray one. And it was like all that was available. I was calling all around. I was living in a town called Lake Stevens at the time. It's a little north of Seattle, Washington. So I'm calling around to all these stores. I'm like, hey, you guys got any Ibanez Sabres? Oh yeah, we got a black one, we got a white one. No, that's it. Oh, we got a gray one, we got a black one. Okay, great. I'm calling. Oh, I was calling like across the mountain range over into Eastern Washington. I finally called this store down at Federal Way, which is probably an hour and a half drive. And they're like, oh yeah, we got a black one, we got a white one, we got a flame green. I'm like, what time do you close? I'm on my way. So I drove down, picked this up, and totally worth the drive. I have used the crap out of this. I've recorded an awful lot of music on this, played quite a few shows with it, both online and in person. It's been a good guitar. Hey Doc, you go ahead and eat, man. We're gonna allow that tonight. We're going to allow Doc to have food because we are that nice. We are just really nice people here. Aren't I kind? All right. I think here, I'm going to bring this F down here, turn that into a power chord, repeat that, and this is going to kind of give some punctuation to this. And now back here, I'm going to go and fill in the bass guitar. I've got my F there. And this is something I like doing with Ostinati, is just, with the bass, just kind of plugging this a little bit in. Swimming with the Cows. Oh, no kidding. That's off of my 28th album, right? Solemn Tales of Baleful Beasts, if I recall correctly. You should feel privileged. We didn't have to do that. We could have been, really mean about it, as we are. Yeah, that's cool. That's an honor for me, really, that anyone actually just wants to use my music for something. Two Cows, that's off my website. Now I'm just gonna try something. I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but I'm just gonna let the bass kind of fill this area in. So let's listen to how this fits in here. I can hardly hear that bass, but this is a good start. I got my bass pretty much cranked on this. Oh, thank you for liking my awesome music. I love making this stuff. I feel like this ostinato is going a little too consistent. So I think what I'm going to do here is throw this into a quarter note. And where's that going to put us here? So that we are on an A flat. So that would be the 3. That might give us a little too much of a major feel there. No, actually, that works pretty well. But I think I should probably turn that into a power chord, probably inverted. Not liking the inversion. Let's try this. Let me try a dyad here. Even though it's major, that might work. Yeah, kind of liking the major dyad in there. Let's throw that in. Oh, let's throw that in the correct spot. Kind of like that. That is correct. Every fret is considered a half step. I've got, I think right now I've got 5 students 4, 5 students who are pretty much just kind of deep into composition. We talk a lot of music theory, and it's very easy to feel overwhelmed when you start learning music theory, because there is so much you can learn. But something that's important to note is you don't have to know all of music theory to write great music. And if you think of just the absolute greatest, most iconic guitar riffs of all time, most of them are dead simple. We're talking the Iron Man, Smoke on the... I would play these, but sometimes there's trouble with copyright junk, so I'm not going to. But you guys will know these. What are some... Ain't Talking About Love by Van Halen. The Crazy Train opening by Randy Rhoads for Ozzy. These are not difficult, super challenging pieces. And so you don't need to know a ton of music theory to get yourself playing. You do need to definitely concentrate on technique, and it is good to study music theory. The best way to understand music theory is to drink heavily. Okay. I'm going to disagree with Doc on that. Now, Doc and I know each other very well, so I know Doc is joking, but I'm going to be a little bit serious. In my opinion, the best way to make music is not to do drugs. I have very little respect for the concept of, oh, that person only wrote good music because they were on heroin. No, I think that Lane Staley dying of heroin was just, just really made him a chump. I really like Alice in Chains, but he was a chump for that. And that was just, it's kind of like, dude, I'm not interested. So, and I'm gonna go out here and make a very unpopular opinion. I think that Led Zeppelin would have written even better music had they not been high all the time. So, particularly some of the drugs those guys were doing. But yeah, a lot of the iconic guitar riffs are not crazy into music theory. Now, I love music theory, and I can sit and talk music theory all day. In fact, I don't know if Scott might be watching here. We were talking some music theory stuff the other day, and our lesson ran over, and I was like, man, I could sit here all day and talk about this stuff. I mean, it's fascinating. It's good to learn. It's good to learn to speak the language of music. So yeah, half step is 1 fret. A whole step is 2 frets. Step and a half is 3 frets. The math on that is pretty basic. If you want to, vodka killed Zeppelin. Doc always has fun things to say. And Doc is a killer drummer in spite of his claims to the contrary. He worked on one of my albums, my very first album, and it was awesome. So don't do drugs, gangsters. All right, so I'm going to throw this onto here. We're in this intro section. Yeah, you're welcome, Doc. Thank you. And then here, I'm going to do the same basic idea, but I'm going to kind of have the guitars just follow the drums a little better on here. And delete those again. Well, let's just listen to this intro, see what comes up. I think I'm going to drop this one down an octave. And this, I think we will just have this ring out. And what's going to be the best way to do this one? I think that'll work probably about the best. Oops. Don't want that there. Delete that. And let's get those like that. Okay. And I know I say this all the time, but in the event that I do have any composition people out there, or really if you've worked on any project on a computer, save often. I have probably saved this already like 12 or 15 times. When I was working my very first album, everything was recorded. I was working on the production side. I was up at Riverside Studios in Granite Falls, and I was working on a song called Mental Floss, one of the 2 songs that Doc drummed on. I was working on it for like 4 hours, and I never saved. Power went out for like 3 minutes, and I cussed a bit, and I got everything back up and running, and only took me about 2.5, 3 hours to repeat everything, but it's like, that would have been a lot better if I didn't have to do all of that over again. So since then, I have gotten very much in a habit, and I actually had a power outage here a few weeks ago. I was working on a composition, and I literally only lost 1 note. I'm like, you know what? I can put that note back in real quick. I'm good with that. So save often, saving is good. I did not throw any ladders in that process, no. Doc and I met working at, I want this company to be able to maintain their anonymity, so it's one of the companies in Western Washington that produces large passenger aircraft. I wouldn't want to interfere with their anonymity, so I'll refer to them that way. And I was an angry little guy back there. So Doc has seen an angrier side of Randy than some people have. So it looks like we've got, we'll do a repeat of this here. Okay, we're gonna have some different funky stuff here. So now, one thing I sometimes like to do, I kind of got this ostinato pattern going. And I could repeat something like that down here, but I think instead I'm gonna go a little more just kind of straight edge on this. I think I'm gonna do a 2-1 move. Oh, let me get to the correct thing here so I get the 16th note. And I'm gonna make this a pull off. Yeah, okay, and then we'll go here. A lot of times, particularly these kind of higher speeds, I feel like the bass guitar just gets muddy if it's trying to do 16th notes. So I go to 8th note, so it's going half speed basically on that. And so that, I'll probably do that here. I'll do that again here, and then in the middle of this, I'm gonna throw in a few extra little fiddly bits. How the hell will that work? I like that. So those should also be, I'm gonna do pull-offs on those. Okay, so that's going to be a 2, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. Okay. Yeah, let's take this. Let's just go up to. Sometimes I got to be kind of cautious. Sometimes I don't dig using the 4. Now, what I'm referring to here, when I'm talking in these numbers, and particularly for Manrat, who's doing a bit of study on music theory, and this is something. Never be afraid of being a beginner at this. I have been studying music theory, like I said, for decades, and I learn new stuff all the time. And it's funny, I was recently taking a lesson from my longtime guitar teacher and now close friend of more than 30 years, Kevin, who just a fantastic guy. He makes me look like an infant as a guitar player. He's amazing. And he said the same thing. He's like, yeah, I've been playing over 50 years and I still learn new stuff all the time. It's just like, every really experienced player that I know speaks like that. And so never be afraid of saying, gosh, I don't really know. But so when I refer to these numbers, every scale has 7 notes. And then those 7 notes can be repeated in different octaves. And every time you get to the 8th note, it's basically starting again. So in this case, I'm using the notes F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D flat, E flat. And so that is an F minor. Get back to that F. So we can refer to those as just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And so when I refer to these numbers, I'm just referring to what position that is in a scale. And so sometimes I have a tough time when I'm using the fourth note of a scale. And so I kind of got to listen here and be like, okay, is this what I want? Yeah, so that's let's give that a listen. The 4 is totally working for me in this case. And I think what I'm going to do here is throw 2 more on and then drop, oops, don't want that. And then I'm going to drop that down to the 3, which is the same as what we've got here. I think that's going to work for me. So let's just play this line on guitar. Yeah, I'm digging that. Let's listen to this in context. Yeah. And then I think maybe if we go to the 5, now that the 5 is a very dominating position in the scale, and this just has to do with the relationship of the frequencies of the notes that we're playing. So basically, if I play the first note of a scale, and then I go to its octave, the 8th note of the scale, I played an F and then an F. The higher F is vibrating exactly twice as fast as the lower F. I don't know the exact frequencies of this, but if this were an A note, I play an A note, that's vibrating 110 times per second. I go up an octave, it's vibrating 220 times per second, 440 times per second, 880 times per second, and on and on. If I was to go down and play a lower A on a bass, it would be 55 times. So it's just, it's this division. Now, the ratio between the first note and the 5th note is a 2 to 3 ratio. So every 2 times this vibrates, this one vibrates 3 times. And that particular relationship is pretty much of a staple in heavy metal music. We use that all the time. And we find in all kinds of music that the 5 leads us back to the 1. After we've played the 5th note of a scale, the first note is very, very comfortable for us. And so here, I'm kind of thinking that I want to get onto the 5. That would be there. And I'm not sure if I'm going to want a complete measure of this. I do want a complete measure of that. I think I'm liking that. Let's give this a listen in context here. Let's just kind of go back, let's go from the second system. Notice I did not copy the bass line over into this, so let's pop that in. Good. Okay. I'm kind of digging this. Walk down the path. This is a good. And I never know where a song's going to go when I start writing it. I'm like, I have no idea what this is going to be, and that's just kind of my process. Is hey, whatever, man. Let's see what happens. That's the way I do it. So I'm going to repeat this here. Boom. Okay, so we've almost filled in our intro section. All right, I'm going to respace these notes. All right. So now I see that I've got my drums kind of going in this quarter note thing with kind of kick and tom. Okay. Okay, you know, it was something I don't feel like I've written much of lately, but this is a feel that I like. How do I want to approach this here? Okay, I'm gonna go to an eighth here. I'm gonna use that 1 and 5 together. This is known as a power chord. Man rat, that's something you're gonna come across a lot. How do you tell the difference between two E's? Like, do you say, oh, so there's a couple ways that we can look at the answer to this question. And there are very good ways to look at the answer to this question. So I do not have a great ear. This is a large part of the reason that I tend to do my compositions in this visual format, because I'm a very visual, analytical type person. Some people have a really good ear. Now, I know my friend Vivian, I doubt she's watching right now, but she's awesome. She is just this wonderful singer, and she has perfect pitch. I could be like, hey, Viv, sing me an A, and she would sing an A, and I could tune my guitar to it. It's like amazing. And so that's one end of the spectrum. You know, the other end of the spectrum is someone who would be completely tone deaf, which is in fact exceptionally rare. True tone deafness does not happen very often. Very few people are truly tone deaf. But there's a spectrum in there, and I'm on the lower side of that. I'm very far away from perfect pitch. And so for me, you know, I wouldn't be able to just tell you what octave an E is in or any given note. Now I know that if I play that particular C, that's one octave below middle C, but that's just because I know the guitar. In any random scenario, if someone played a C and said, hey Randy, is that middle C? Probably wouldn't be able to tell you. And so for me, I tell where I'm at just by knowing the kind of what I would call the roadmap of the guitar. And so that's kind of, you know, the positional awareness, the frequency awareness. And that's going to, like I said, that's going to be different for everyone. And there are advantages to having perfect pitch, and there are disadvantages to having perfect pitch. And there are advantages to not hearing things perfectly, and there are disadvantages to it. And so definitely, I've seen a lot of people fall into the kind of dangerous position of, oh, I need to develop my ear. What you need to do is have an awareness of what your ear actually does for you. Okay, so that's part of it. Now, the difference between major and minor, this is a very important thing for you to understand. Yeah, Neil Young eats children. Sorry, I'm just answering another question here. So the difference between major and minor is absolutely huge, and one of my favorite things to say to my students, and I don't even know how many, probably thousands and thousands of times I've said this to my students over the years that I've been teaching, is we do not play music for people to hear. We play music for people to feel. And that's huge. There's only one thing you don't want people to feel. Only one. And that's boredom. If people are bored, they don't keep coming back to your stream. They don't keep buying your albums. They don't listen to your music. So if you want to have no one ever listen to your music, then boredom is a great goal. But that's not most people's overall hope when creating music. So we want to make people feel something. You can make them happy, you can make them sad, you can make them feel love, make them feel hate, make them feel joy or anger. That's all fine. And if you think about your favorite movies, they probably have killer soundtracks. Soundtracks are so important in getting the correct emotive impact out of a film. So the difference between major and minor is an emotional difference. Now, obviously, there's a sonic difference. I'm actually going to switch over to a clean tone here to illustrate this. So if I play a major, I'm going to play just the very most basic form of this, which would be the first note and third note of a scale. And if I play this as a major, so this is an E major. If I play a complete chord, which is known as a triad, now if I switch that to a minor, listen to the difference. So major, minor. Much darker, much heavier, much angrier, much sadder, right? If I go to the complete triad, and the triad is the first, third, and fifth notes of a scale. minor, major, minor, major. So that's the difference between major and minor. The lieutenant colonel chords are very difficult to play, very, very challenging. And then, of course, if you go lower and play a private chord, I can't actually do that for you. It's just too personal. Sorry, now we are being silly. I know, it doesn't happen often on Mad Poet streams, does it? Ooh, the Mad Poet's being silly. Never seen that before. So that's the difference between major and minor, and the difference between like the different octaves of notes. And yeah, I think hopefully that answers your question. Feel free to ask for clarification on any aspect of that or anything else if you are so inclined. Okay, so back to some fiddling around with composition here. So we got these quarter notes going on the drums, kind of a kick and tom thing. And this is a rhythm pattern that I really like, particularly this with the quarter note and then stopping it short. And so I'm going to put that here. Oops, not like that. I'm going to put that here twice. And I don't, so these right now are all F power chords, which I don't know if I'm going to keep. That I'm kind of digging. Now I think what I'm going to do here, cool, hey, yeah, that's great, man, Rat, love to hear it. And you know, and one of the big things is just keep asking questions. Ask me questions, get yourself a guitar teacher, ask them questions. If you meet other guitar players, say, hey, what can you tell me about the way you approach chords? Hey, I saw you doing some funky thing, in that last song. What was that? Because, there's... Someone else may explain some of these things a little bit differently than I do because, their ears work different than mine. They have a different musical background than me, and they may have a different and also completely valid way of looking at this. So, what makes a Teflon coating stick to the frying pan? I believe it's actually whale blubber that they use to stick there. Yeah. Because of, animal rights. So I think what I'm going to do here, so we've got the 1 and the 5 from the scale in these chords. And I think what I'm going to do, in minor keys, other than Dorian, this does not all have to make sense, man, Rat, I really like using the 6. Basically, I like using the 6 in the minor position as a juxtaposition with the 5. And I think on the quarter notes, that might be a bit much. Maybe just those 2. So this is going to look like this on guitar. Let's get let's get the low note there, throw that onto the bass. And in this case, I think I'm going to take that one to the 4. And then I'm going to take these both to the 4. And the 1 and the 4 relationship is really weird because the ear hears it as a 1 and 5 kind of reversed. And so what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to take this note to the 3, and that's going to force your ear to hear the F as the root. Yeah. Starting to sound like a headbanger. You're darn right it is, baby. That's what we do. And I have just saved again. Get some of my decaf coffee here. And then I think I'm going to take this. I'm going to throw this here. I'm going to drop this back to the 5. I'm going to throw this across here. That's going to be a stop, and that's really going to help accentuate this particular kick drum. And that's going to lead us rhythmically very, very nicely into these double kicks. Of Question, why are they called apartment buildings when they're so close together? I'm trying to think of something silly. See, one of the things about Doc and I is we have to be very cautious online. Because if Doc and I were just sitting alone, yakking about stuff, and there was no one around, we would be speaking linguistically much more freely than we are currently. And there isn't an appropriate level that we need to maintain online. So the things I want to say, I'm not going to say, because I'm going to maintain the professional mad poet demeanor that we have all come to know and enjoy. So here, I'm just going to get into some straight eighth notes on that, but I don't want these to just be on the root like that. So let's move that around. You got to keep it PG. You know, I do have some students who are 10 years old and under that do sometimes get on to my streams, and I do feel that's important. You know, I don't know what ages. This is an all ages friendly show, even though it is in the metal arena. And don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna like beat anyone up for, you know, accidentally saying a bad word in chat. You know, don't kill yourselves over it. But, and, you know, and I'll tell you, there's another thing. So a few years back, well, it's been probably 10 years back now, my nephew was about 15. And he was living with my parents. They were out of town, so he was staying with me. And for, you know, a week or so, and I was driving him into school every morning because we weren't on his bus route. So I'm taking him into school, and I had something playing in my truck. And he's like, "Hey, can we listen to one of my CDs?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, pop it in." Right? So it's ICP, Insane Clown Posse, who is not always all ages friendly. Let's put it that way. So this song comes on. I don't know the title of the song, but you know, F this, F that, F you, F me, F everything. You know, okay. And you know, I know where my nephew's going with this because I've been a 15-year-old boy. It's been a few years, but I was there once. And so the song gets over, and he's like, "Well, what'd you think of that?" And I'm like, "You know, really, it's kind of boring." And now all of a sudden, he's the one that's surprised. And the way I explained this to him was, you know, back in the 1930s, I think it was around like 34 or so, 35, I could be wrong on the year, this movie came out called Gone with the Wind. No, Doc, I've never seen Doc use a profanity in the chat room at all. He's very, very good about that, about separating the different aspects of our lives. So Gone with the Wind came out, and in this, Rhett Butler, the character, said "damn," and it was like a really big deal because that was very uncommon in film at that time, and this was like a really big name movie. It wasn't actually the first time that there had been cussing in a film, but it was kind of one of the biggest times that it had happened. And this is a known story. Now, this is not new information. This is very well known. And the thing is, what's the next movie where someone cussed? No one knows. No one cares because it wasn't a big deal the second time. And so then it kind of became this series of one-upmanship until you finally get things like Eminem, the rapper, who I have a lot of respect for, a brilliant lyricist and musically very good. You know, you get, you know, people like him and Dre. You get bands like Insane Clown Posse. You know, and it's like, okay, where do you go with this? You eventually get to the level of, you know, G.G. Allin, who would take laxatives 4 hours before a show and then go and literally crap all over the stage. And G.G. Allin's band almost never finished a show. You know, violence on stage. It's like, so the shock value is basically gone, in my opinion. And I would much rather have a musician like Alice Cooper, who can tell you a story that's going to blow your mind whole, just wide open. Love Alice Cooper. I've seen him multiple times live, brilliant on stage, great stuff. And yeah, I would much rather see that than, ICP doing what they do. I don't have anything against ICP. Some of their music is decent, but it doesn't impress me when they're going for the shock value, because the shock value basically doesn't work anymore. That's my opinion on it, even though no one asked. Oh yeah, dude, G.G. Allen was crazy. He's dead now because he lived the kind of lifestyle that leads you to that. But yeah, he did some weird stuff. Weird stuff. All right. So I'm just going to try this one out on the 6 here. Invert that. I'm good with that. And I think in this case, I'm probably going to drop that an octave. I see what happened there. So we want this to be on a D note. And I think I'm going to put this on the 3 so we have a smoother bass line leading us there. Yeah, G.G. Allen, and G.G. Allen's music was terrible. Okay, digging this. So now we've got our intro section laid out, and this is something I'm really big on being there's one question, an important one, the others would like to know. Would you like a ham and cheese breville? Taki's the name, and toasting's the game. I think we have entered the Red Dwarf portion of the show. So I'm really big on kind of digital hygiene. I organize my files in my computer very consistently. It's easy for me to find the things that I need. And this is one of the biggest boons. Once I got up around probably around my 15th or 16th album, I really kind of got into my groove for organizing how I create my songs. So I've got all these, like, you see this like intro, this is the A section. So on this I've got an intro, an A, B, intro, A, B, A, break, C, partial intro, an A and a B. Okay, so now I can take this and say, okay, here's my intro section. So I can simply throw that onto my other places that I've got my intro section, and that simplifies my life quite a lot. Now this is a partial intro section, so I'll have to figure out how I deviated. We end on an intro section, and this is kind of a nice feature that appears in most of the software for notation. So it just kind of shows you where you have filled stuff in, so I can see exactly where I have composed and what's going on with that. So this partial, what do I got going on here? Need to compare that to what I've got here. Oops, let me put this back into its dock. Yeah, that is, G.G. Allen, for those of you who've never heard him, I think it's cool that Manrat, I know Manrat is a younger viewer here. If you've never heard of G.G. Allen, just look up his entry on Wikipedia. Dude, it is a wild ride just reading about G.G. Allen. Wow, it was some wacky stuff. And yeah, it was, check his story out, because it's something else. So it looks like we got, what do we got here? That'll be what we just did. 2, 3, 4, Okay, I think I see what's going on here. So it looks like we've kind of got the last 16 measures of our intro for this. Oh, no, this thing's just kind of out of order, it looks like. Okay, so I'm gonna have to fill this kind of in one section at a time. Okay, I see what's going on there. I would like to have a medium-sized fire axe buried in my spinal column. That just sounds like good, wholesome fun there. And what are we? This is going to go here. Okay. This is going to go at the end. Sorry, some things were freaking out. Okay. Hopefully this stream hasn't dropped out. I'm trying to monitor things to have a better idea of when things are dropping out. So, sorry about that. Yeah, probably not very many people have an actual fire axe. What Jerry is referring to there is it's actually a Red Dwarf reference, is what he's talking about. There's a part where the mechanoid Crichton ends up with a medium-sized fire axe buried in his spinal column, and he just very calmly states it. I have a medium-sized fire axe buried in my spinal column. Such a fun show, so good. And then it looks like I've actually created, in this alternate version of the intro, I've actually created a slightly different... Okay, so that's easy to work with. So I'll pop this in. And... grab that. Bring this down here. Boom. And then I'm going to rearrange... basically do the same thing I was doing before, which is just rearranging these chords to match what the drums are doing. And that will work just fine. Cool. And then I think that this next alt intro is simply the same as this. No. So we got this. It's gonna go here. And then we've got our 16th double kick section, which I'm really liking that little 4-measure grouping there. That'll go here, and then the end is the same again. You should totally check it out. It is so awesome. Maybe we can now win self-determination for the self-Maldavian people! Again, Red Dwarf. Yeah, Man Rat, you should totally check it out. I don't know if it's on what you have access to, or you can probably find some places to download it, or it might be on Netflix or whatever. There's 13 seasons. The 13th season I actually haven't seen. It's just they made a movie for the 13th season of it, and it started back in like the, gosh, I want to say like late 80s, mid 80s. And they did like 8 seasons in a row, and then they kind of just occasionally have done another season. And then there's some controversy among devotees of the show as to which are the actual, best seasons. Some people don't like certain seasons. I pretty much like all of it. I just think it's pretty rad. Yeah, just check it out. If you like that kind of Monty Python British style humor, it's basically that in a sci-fi context. So it's good. It's good stuff. It's fun for the kids. Okay, so we've got that. Now we go and we got some shorter sections here on A and B. And so it looks like what I've done here is I've got an 8-measure section for A that has a bunch of double kick, and then an 8-measure section for B that has more of just kind of a standard, somewhat wacky drum beat. Not anything crazy. Yeah, some of those ammo boxes get kind of pricey. so I feel like I'm not sure what I want to do on the A section yet. But I'm gonna go into this. I don't always write my songs in order. I have no need of doing anything in any particular order. But I feel like just going to some straight eighths here. And when I say eighths, I'm talking about a subdivision rhythmically. And so a standard beat is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, as kick, snare. And if you listen to the country station, the rock station, the classic rock station, they're all going to be doing, you can pretty much tune into any station on the radio other than the classical or jazz station. You're going to get this basic beat. And so that'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. And when we go to eighth notes, we're just kind of doubling, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So we're just kind of getting a nice kind of driving, chunky feeling going. And a lot of times here, just hitting the root is really good. And if I would hit my keyboard hotkeys correctly, that would help. 5.56 millimeter, yeah, the old M16. I've shot those a lot. I was in the military, early 90s. Shot a lot of M16 bullets. M60 is, I think is a 7.62 millimeter. Shot those quite a bit. I really like the M60. Oh, you're in California, cool. So we're all in the same time zone. I'm in Eastern Washington. Doc is over in Western Washington. He's just kind of south of Seattle. I'm quite a ways. I'm closer to Spokane than Seattle. Smee. Do you mean Smeghead? Maybe if I hit this one as a quarter note. I think actually right here, I'm going to throw in a 16th and only play the root note. Oops. Yeah, let's get this actually to be correct. And I kind of like the idea of this beat 4. You're in North Seattle. So that's the opposite of South Seattle. Well, color me incorrect. So I think I'm going to drop these here. Now this is going to put this out of range, so I'll invert that chord. Yeah, that works. Now here, I'm kind of hearing this go to a 3. And now here, and I don't know how well this comes across to any particular person's. Oh, you're still in that same place. For some reason, I thought you were living down in Burien now. My bad. You're still in the same place in Linwood. Okay. I don't know why I thought you had moved to Burien. So there's a particular relationship of notes known as a diminished fifth. Sometimes people refer to this as a tritone. A tritone, to be technically a tritone, it has to be an augmented fourth. This doesn't all have to make sense. They end up being the same basic, very dissonant sound. This occurs naturally in one particular place in the scale. So this is a place where I will very commonly use what is known as an accidental or a note out of key to kill that tritone. Now some places I definitely want to maintain tritones. This is not among them. And I think taking this to a quarter note is going to make me a little happier rhythmically. I think I should put a 16th there on the bass to match the drums and guitar. And a little of this, a little of that. Save that file, because saving is good. Save me! God, I'm a dork. I probably just lost like 8 viewers, and I only started with I think 7 at the time, so I'm probably like -1 viewer now. I should be, because that was just stupid. Okay. One thing I definitely don't care for in Sibelius is you're not able to link two staves, which is actually very nice. $16, cool. Even Doc was 16 once, about 600 years ago. Okay, it's getting a little jazzy. A Brachiosaurus rode me to school, so my life was a little harder. Yeah, it was brutal. All right, so the B section. That's okay. Now, one question I have been asked a few times though is, things like, how do you do so much music? And this, a very related question is, how can a person become more comfortable recording? And obviously, like when I released my second album on, I think it was August 3rd of 2019, and then in 11 months I put out 49 albums, and it was just shy of an album a week. I missed my week deadline only on two occasions. And then I slowed down a bit, and there's been one or two smaller sections where I've gone in and done an album a week. So what I tell people is, you need to have a willingness to commit, and you need to also have a willingness to delete. And so if I start, like this riff I like, so I'm totally keeping this, but sometimes I'll start writing a riff, and it's just like, this isn't very good, and I'll just delete the whole thing and start over. And you just have to have that willingness to commit to it. And the more music you write, the easier it gets to do this. So like when people ask me about recording, I say, if you want to get better at recording, take a piece that you want to record, something fairly short, and maybe a piece of a song you've already written or whatever, a little section of a song, and go into, get yourself set up in your recording program, record that little section, and then before you listen to it, delete it. Completely serious here, just delete it. Don't even listen to it. You recorded it, even if you think you did perfectly, just delete it, and then record it again 50 times, at least 50 times. And I'm not even joking on that number. Sometimes I use these numbers, and my newer students will look at me like I'm crazy, like, you want me to do this 50 times? I'm like, yeah, I want you to do it 50 times. And just delete it, gone. And then after you've done this 50 times, you're gonna be very comfortable recording that little section. On your 51st time or so, record it, listen to it, and then delete it, and do that 50 times. Because after you've done this, 50 times where you delete it without listening to it, 50 times you delete it after you did listen to it, you're gonna be pretty comfortable recording, and you'll realize, what? Recording is not a big deal. You hit that record button, it's really not a big deal because I can just delete this. My very first recording experience was at Riverside Studios. That's when I was working on my first album, Confusion. A very good experience for me. I was working with a guy named Dave Walker. He and I, to this day, are still very good friends. And I actually went and bought analog tape, and we never used it. I was just on that edge of studios becoming digital, and I was fine with that. I was like, keep the tape, Dave, use it for whatever. I think it's actually still sitting there unused. And so we recorded, so that was actual analog tape. We recorded onto digital tape and into a computer. Like I said, where it's kind of right at that transition. So I've always known the digital arena, but it's great because, I can go in and I can record something 100 times and I'm not wearing out a piece of tape. You record too many times on an analog tape or even on digital tape, it stretches. It doesn't work right anymore. You get, warped sounds. So it's great that we're not in that arena. Now what am I missing here? Oh, Holy Grail. Yeah, those are so So great. And those like Therese, if she's still watching, she knows the Monty Python stuff much better than I do. And I know Doc knows that stuff pretty well. I've seen those. I also really like Life of Brian is such a fun movie. And that part with the aliens come down and grab Brian and fly him around. It's just so freaking awesome. Those guys, such a great bit of comedy. Very intelligent comedically. And I love intelligent humor. Your favorite is your favorite, but it's in my opinion, it's very worth watching. Let's write some more music here. And I think what I'm going to do here is a lot of times when I have these kind of back and forth 8-measure sections, is I'll break each of those into a two parts. So 4 measures and then a different 4 measures. And so I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to write 2 more measures kind of with these kind of basic 8th note ideas here. And I think I'm going to run up to 5. Oh, those are quarter notes. So let's turn them into 8th notes. And then I'm going to bring this down to the 4. And then, see, I don't just want to go 5, 4, 3. And I like doing this, like on an 8th notes, do my last 3 of them on a separate chord. So these are all power chords. I think I'm going to jump this up 6. And then maybe bump these into 1 and 3 rather than 1 and 5. I'm not digging that. Let's take this to the 7. Ooh. No. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharp the 7. This is going to take us into what's known as a harmonic minor. And that's going to give me a minor chord on the 7. And that's going to lead us very nicely back into the root. Let's put those. I may rearrange that once I actually get to the recording process. Let's give this a listen here. So I've got that sharp 7. Now here, okay, now that's way too low. So there's, okay. 2. Sharp 7. So the question is, do I want to put the bass on the 5? Because that's going to change the feel of the chord significantly. So in this case, I have got an E minor is a substitution for an E flat major by using the sharp 7. So if I go to that, so I've got an E and a G. Now if I take this back to a C, which I've done, that's going to give me a C. Wait a minute. C. Oh, okay, yeah. My bad. Okay, yeah. So that'll give me a C major chord. For some reason, I was thinking diminished, but so the bass is going to kind of force this to be a C major. I'm not sure if I'm going to dig that or not. I don't know if I'm liking that. Let's take this back to the E. Let's take it down lower so we have a bit of contrary motion between those two. Yeah, Doc would. He totally would. Do start listening to Jimmy. Jimmy had such a great style. You know, fellow Seattleite, Jimi Hendrix. Before I was around, so I never got to see him live, of course. I'm not that old, but man, great guitar playing. Just such a cool style. One of the things about Hendrix, and this is something worth noting as an aspiring. Hey, Sean, welcome to the show, man. You saw Eric Johnson live. Eric Johnson was massively inspired by Hendrix. massively inspired. And Eric Johnson, man, such a great guitar player. But one thing to consider about guitar playing, for man right here who's getting his first guitar tomorrow, which is awesome. For any of my guitar player friends, really just musicians in general, is your physiology will determine some of how you play guitar. So if you look at players like Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, great guitar players. Both of those players were known for using thumb over technique. And this is something I don't do. Now, Stevie Ray Vaughan and Jimi Hendrix both had very large hands. I have very small hands for a guy. And so thumb over technique does not work for me. I was just talking with one of my students the other day about this, who also has smaller hands, and he was kind of trying to work a thumb over thing for a chord. I helped him with some different fingerings with it. And so, if you don't have big hands like Hendrix, you will need to find different ways of playing the same things he did. And so a lot of times people will say, oh, well, this player played it like this, so that's the right way to play it. Well, that's not necessarily a true statement. It's what's going to work for you, and that's going to determine part of your stylistic approach to how you play guitar. And, I definitely do different things than a lot of guitar players. I'm going to take that to the 3 to give again. Now, bass lines they can jump around a lot. In this case, I'm just kind of feeling the smooth bass line here. And in fact, I think I'm going to take, I'm on a root here. I'm going to take that down to the 5. I'm actually going to put this on the 6, just to smooth that bass line out a bit more. Okay, I can work with that. And now that should just really take us back very nicely to the root. And I think I'm just going to go with some drone chords here. Actually, that's not leading us back to the root as well as I thought it would. And that's because it's because of the way I'm using the sharp 7. I'm using it to produce a minor chord where. So let's take this back to a C. Okay, now that I've got the root as a resolution, the C major is working much more, I was about to say much more better. Yeah, I'm not good at English, but I'm better than I used to was. Yeah. And then I think what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to take this to the 3. Okay. Kind of digging this. Now it might make more sense to pull this back to the roots because my bass line's kind of going the other way. I can take this back to here, and now I'm going to draw this up to a 3. Let's do a 4 and a 3 here. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot better. And then what I'm doing is I'm bringing this to the 3 to force this to, we hear the C minor, which is inherent to the key we're in. And then I use our sharp 7 as the 3 of 5 to force basically we'd be using what's known as a secondary dominant, which is a C major. I'm using a major chord on, is what I should do here. Let's see if is this going to work. So I've got. What if I make this a power? So if I make this a power chord, then we're going to put the 7 in, and that's going to make this a truer form of a secondary dominant. And that sounds kind of funky. So what is that? What do I got going on there? Okay, so that's. I don't think I'm liking that as much. I'm gonna roll with what we got here. That's working for me. You could call him Sean. I don't think he'd be offended by that because it's his actual name. Or at least he told me that's what his name is. That he might be a Russian Cold War era spy, and he just lied to me about that. It's probably not, though. Oh, that's kind of cool. You can use the @ symbol to do that. Ooh. And Recursive Trauma has had the 100th message in our chat box stream thing today. That's exciting. So exciting. All right. Yeah, so now I'm just going to kind of roll with some kind of whole and half notes here. And, earlier, Manrat mentioned that, he was just starting to learn some music theory, and he learned that, we got a whole step, or a half step is 1 fret, whole step is 2 frets. Here I'm talking about whole notes and half notes. One thing you're going to find in music theory is a lot of the same terms get used in different ways. So you're going to hear the numbers used a lot. So when we're counting rhythms, we use numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. When we're counting the notes of scales, we refer to those as scale degrees, and we use the same numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4 for our fingers. We got 6 strings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're, in this song, I've got the A section, the B section. We also have A notes and B notes, and A chords and B chords. So you're going to use the same terms for a lot of different concepts in music. So that's something for you to be aware of as a musician. That's going to happen a lot. And so don't let that ever, get to you, so to speak. Just kind of roll with the punches, let it take you where it takes you, and be open-minded about these concepts. So now, so that is actually out of range on the bass. So I'm going to take that to the 3. And I think I want this to move up as well, so I'm on an F. So I took that to the 7. Let's take that to the 2. And now that this is kind of a cool thing where this is the 3 of 7 and it is the 1 of 2. So that actually I can use the same note to cover both of these chords. And that sometimes works well, sometimes not as much. Let me kill the tritone here. Or technically let me kill the diminished fifth, because that is, wait a minute, that one would be, no, that one is a diminished fifth, not a tritone. Okay, I'm liking that. No, that's absolutely true. And I will say, certainly as we talked about earlier, this is an all ages friendly, all people friendly kind of a stream. But definitely if you're talking to myself or Doc, we're pretty hard to offend. It doesn't come easy to offend Doc and I in the course of our normal lives. But it's good to be careful. Didn't buy it. I will urge, get something, find a way to keep your guitar out of its case. There's something about taking an instrument out of its case that just sucks. And it's very unfortunate. I don't know if you can really see back here, but what I've done is I've actually taken, if you join my Discord, there's a photo of this that's closer up of my guitars back here. Actually, when they were against a different wall, I recently moved around in this room. But what I did is I tied nooses, screwed them into the ceiling, and I just hang my guitars from nooses. I've been doing that. I started doing that as soon as I got out of the military. I moved back into my parents' place for a while. There was a big beam there. I screwed a bunch of nooses in there, hung my guitars up, and been doing it ever since. It's a great way to do it. And nooses are not hard to tie, and rope is cheap. So I think I use about 9 feet of rope, maybe 7 feet. If you get 10 feet of rope, yeah. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, join my Discord. Check out the picture in there. And yeah, it's kind of cool. It works well. Okay, so we got this here. And this is just, you know, real simple. And sometimes simple just works really well. And I think moving up from here is what I'm going to want. So we're on the 2 there. Yeah, maybe the 6 here. Not digging the 6 there. That's working a little better. So let's actually, so now I'm on the 5. We're on a B flat. And now, you know, I wasn't going to go back to the root here, but I feel like that's working just fine. And now I'm basically going to take some 16th notes. I think I'm just going to do straight 16ths on that part. Turn the bass into 8s like we talked about earlier. Want to get, you know, yeah, that stuff, those humidified cabinets are pricey. I know Sean has, I think, 2 or 3 classical guitars, a couple electrics, and, you know, humidified is, I gotta admit, it's a good way to go. You know, I know on a couple of my guitars, after we moved here to Eastern Washington, the necks did shrink a little bit, and, you know, I can just feel the edge of the fret. You know, it's not an uncommon thing, but wood does move around. You know, it's just kind of that question of which level do you want to go to. So I think here I'm going to move this up to the 2. And then I'm going to kind of punctuate a little bit and go to, let's do, this. Let's get some heavily punctuated quarter note beats in there. Let's take this to the 7. I'll put that on the 3 of 7. And then here, I'm gonna go to quarter notes, but I'm gonna put a, normally, if you buy, like, you know, Master of Puppets guitar tab book, it shows you everywhere to do your palm muting. Palm muting is a technique that, let me switch to a distorted channel here. It gets that big chunky sound going, and I'm actually just touching the string with my palm. So, you know, if I take that off, you get this big open sound. And in metal, we often like that. So a lot of times it'll show you that. I just intuitively know where I want to palm mute in my own music. So what I'll do is when I know I want a particularly heavy palm mute on something, I'll put in a note for palm muting. And that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna have these just are gonna be these punctuated chords. And then those quarter notes, I'm gonna put a heavy palm mute on those. And there's a symbol for this somewhere. There we go. So So I'll just draw that in like that. And so I know that if I've put a palm mute sign in, it's supposed to be a very heavy palm mute. I've got a few of the Hercules stands, and they're great. They fold up nice and small. They're not intrusive. I don't think they're terribly expensive, and they work really well. I've got 2 for electrics and 1 for acoustic, and I've used the crap out of those things, man. They're really they're sturdy too. Like these little flimsy things, you know, they're 15, 20. I don't know what they're going for now. I haven't bought one of these in years, but you know, they're kind of flimsy and bulky. They get in the way. They're easy to knock over. So the Hercules stands, if you're looking for a stand, they're worth looking into. Yeah, it's good not to let your pets play your guitars. Yeah, the electrics are. Yeah, the acoustics are gonna be more responsive to humidity changes for sure. Correct. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's just keeping it so, you know, like over here in Eastern Washington, it's very dry. I think this region that I live in is almost considered a desert. I think we get like 1 inch too much rain a year, so it's very dry. We moved here a year ago from Snohomish, Washington on the west side, where there's like rain all year long. And so yeah, I definitely can tell a difference in my guitars. And there's adjustments you can also make. Like there's a truss rod that runs through your neck that's adjustable. And on my guitar, there's an adjustment right up here, and it's just a Allen wrench you put in there. So some of them are Allen wrenches, some of them are regular wrenches. There's different styles, but that actually allows you to adjust where your neck is sitting, and you can adjust that for humidity changes. You can also adjust it for, if you put a different size of strings on, it'll have a different amount of tension. So, you know, there's a lot of adjustments that get made. A lot of people just have those adjustments made for them. I do all of my own adjustments myself, so I get exactly what I want. Yeah, no, the classical guitars don't have a truss rod. That is absolutely, Sean is absolutely correct on that. Yep. Yeah, no, yeah, Sean's information here is right on the money. Almost makes me feel like I've taught him something, and that's good since he's been a student of mine for like 8 years now. And since before, though, Sarah and I have been together for just shy of 7 years, and Sean was a student before I met Sarah, so it's been a while. All right, let's put some more fat. And this is something I like to do sometimes in these kind of faster sections like this, where I got these 16th notes going in the drums, the double kick, is kind of let the guitar go back and forth. Because sometimes, you know, if you just do straight 16th notes on the guitar, it can be a little more on the kind of death metal feel, which I've actually, like the song, my daughter actually came up with the title of it, the Ascension of the Archangel's Carcass. You would think that I'm not an all ages friendly show from the names of my songs. With that one, I went for more of a black metal feel, and I gotta say, I didn't do a great job at it. I'm not really a black metal, death metal guy. I mean, I certainly appreciate what goes on in those genres of music, but it's just not the stylistic approach I take. But sometimes, you know, when you just do straight 16s, you know, you get that kind of... Particularly if you go into a diminished mode like I just did there, which is what I did in Ascension of the Archangel's Carcass. But yeah, so I like kind of having some punctuation in there. And I think I'm just going to kind of move up a little higher on this one now. Ah! Screwed something up there. What did I do? There we are. Is Sarah still a serial killer? So this story goes back to a mutual friend of Doc and I, a couple, Chris and Kathy, who are just fantastic people. They're awesome. And I have spent the majority of my life single. Prior to meeting Sarah, the longest relationship I ever had lasted 5 months. And Sarah and I got together when I was 43. So I've spent most of my life single and alone. So the first time Chris and Kathy came over and met Sarah, they're just like, okay, what's got to be wrong with this woman to actually be with Randy? And so after they left, it has to be like, dude, she's a serial killer, run for your life. And it's been a joke ever since. So yes, Sarah still kills cereal. So let's go to the 5 here. No, let's not go to the 5 there. I think the 4 might. The 4 is working for me in this song. I mentioned when I started composing earlier that a lot of times the 4 isn't my go-to arena, but the 4 seems to be kind of working for me here. And so here I went from the 1 to the 2. Let's go from the 4 to the 3 on this. And then let's repeat that. And I've got a sense of where I want to go here. I think I want to turn that into a half. We'll continue the 8th note in the bass. A lot of Slipknot had some pretty cool stuff. One of my earlier students was a big Slipknot fan. And I haven't listened to a ton of their stuff, but they did some pretty cool stuff. And learn some of their songs once you get your guitar. And that's one of the biggest things is learn music you enjoy. There are going to be people out there who will be like, I hate Slipknot. If you mention Nirvana, Doc is going to be like, I hate Nirvana. But that doesn't mean that you need to hate Nirvana. So I don't hate Nirvana. It's totally okay that Doc does. I don't eat mushrooms on my pizza because that's the right thing to do. Doc does eat mushrooms on his pizza because he's insane. So, different strokes. And this is when once I put the palm mutes on this in the actual recording, that one works well. Chrome 73, welcome in. Lurks, Violets. I think some of these people have stopped in. I've noticed that. We got another mushroom lover. Crazy people out there. I've noticed that the viewers list doesn't clear out when people leave. So I don't know if all these people are here, but if you are here, hello, thank you. I know after my show last Friday, I was visiting some other people's streams and a whole bunch of people followed me, and it was really, I got like 10 followers right after my stream last week. It was really cool. So I'm hoping some of those people are coming in and kind of checking things out. See, now, I'm okay with pineapples on pizza. Now, I'm even okay with mushrooms on pizza as long as I don't have to eat it. It's okay for you to put mushrooms on your pizza. It's just not okay for you to put mushrooms on my pizza. So, yeah, those are two very polarizing pizza concepts. Mushrooms, pineapples. People tend to have very strong opinions on those. These things do happen. Now I'm not sure if I'm digging the 4 here. What if I took these to a 3-2? I like that better. We're gonna do that. See now bacon. I'm a bacon guy. I had bacon and eggs just a little while ago. So that was my dinner, actually. That is what I do. Bacon, oh, it's a beautiful thing. We're definitely meat eaters here. Sarah is, interestingly, she's not allergic, but she has a chemical sensitivity to a chemical known as salicylates, which occurs in most fruits and vegetables. So she cannot process well most fruits and vegetables. So no offense to any vegetarians out there, I have heard some vegetarians claim that a vegetarian diet works for all people, and that's just not true. Some diabetics have extreme difficulties with particularly fruits and also some vegetables. And then you have people with like folic acid sensitivities and salicylate sensitivities. Sarah's got a whole website about this. See, now that's Sarah. She can't do olives. She loves mushrooms, can't stand olives. I'm the exact opposite. I'm totally good with olives. No mushrooms. Human beings are weird. Mammals are weird. Life is weird. I like weird stuff. Let's jump this up to the 5 now here. This is another thing that Sibelius does because it doesn't have the linked staves, is it always assumes that guitar tablature is in A minor. And so you definitely have to watch for copying things to make sure that they go in the way you want them to. Yeah, hey, when it comes to cow, man, just knock off its horns, wipe its butt, and set it down on the plate. Doc and I are ready to go. All ages, baby. Ah. Now I'm going to offset this a bit with some nice palm muted 8th notes. That should lead me pretty nicely down into the root. I get a sense of something I want to do. Now, I think I'm going to do a sequence here. A nice little quick, this has got some, well, that'll be a polyrhythm, nothing wrong with that. I'm thinking I want to do like a, That could work well. So I'd want to start this on an octave up. Then a sequence is simply when you take a pattern, and it can be 3 notes, it can be 4 notes, whatever. And then you repeat that pattern in a different position. Now, in normal composition, when we talk about like classical composition, normally what I just did with these sequences is not something you would do. So I have, these each just come down 1 position in the scale. And normally you would only do 2 of these. Otherwise it becomes too repetitious. The exception to that is when you're doing it specifically to show off, which is exactly what this is. So like when Bach would do his harpsichord solos, which was really the precursor to the rock guitar on stage solo. Bach's harpsichord work is brilliant. That's the kind of thing that he would do. So now I'm going to take this and I'm going to get some what we would know of as contrary motion going. So take that to the 5. And that actually, I'm going to take this to the 3. Now that's going to be the 3 of, so if I take that to the 7? Do I want to do a 7 here? That's going to work. That's going to work. Okay. Now let's, and I've actually got my bass set wrong in this particular file, so these notes are all out of range of the bass. Sarah is Costa Rican, and she has cooked up some pretty rad meals with a lot of different kind of meat. Yeah, I'm sure that does do your meat justice there. Yeah, that is, the extra strings on an acoustic guitar are actually known as a harp guitar. Harp guitars have a very interesting history, and I don't know a ton about them, but I have played a couple of songs that have been, because I love playing classical guitar. The hardest piece of music I ever learned, this was probably 4 or 5 years back. It's called the Grand Solo by a composer named Napoleon Costa. And it was written for a harp guitar that had only one additional string. And harp guitars, there's never been a real standard for how many strings they had. It can be anywhere from 1 string up to however many you fit. I've seen harp guitars with 18, 24 strings, a lot of them have, just an additional 5, 6, 8 strings, whatever. So this one, it just had a low D note, and he put it like that intentionally so that if you're on a 6-string guitar, you can simply raise that D note an octave and play it on the open 4th string, which is what I did. And it was only in 2 places in the song. Brutally difficult. I worked on that song every day for 17 months before my first performance. My last couple weeks before I did, it was a private performance I did, and I just sat and hammered that song for probably 3 hours a day for the last couple weeks. The performance went really well. I had a dozen or so people over to our place in Snohomish and played, I played Koyumbaba, which is a really cool piece. And then I played the Grand Solo by Fernando Sor and the Grand Solo by Costa. And Sor was actually Costa's teacher, which kind of gives it a cool history as well. And it went really well, but that was just a brutal piece to learn. So, yeah. But yeah, harp guitars are really cool. Now here, I think, what do we want to do here? I think I'm going to kind of draw this back. I'm going to put that on the 3, and then I'm just going to let that fall back down. Let's hear how this fits together. I'm digging that bass line there. Yeah, and then that what I did here was bring this down. I started on the root of the key, ended on the 2, and that will draw us very nicely back into what am I trying to say? The A section. And now I've got the A section, the B section, and I'm gonna pop those into their other places. A, B. Oh, I did something wrong there. That's because I copied way too much. Well, I need to do some Control Z action here. I am in the completely wrong spot now. That's what's going on. I'm not in the right spot. Okay, so I wrote the B section first and then the A section. Gotcha. Okay, so the A section is actually going to lead us back to the B section the way I wrote it. So let's pop this over here. Boom. And that should work fine for getting us back to, this is going to be a tricky transition. But it's going to work well. I like Mexican and Italian a lot. Yeah. Did I hear the news about Smokey Robinson? I'll have to check out that YouTube video. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's one's an inside joke that I just don't remember or what's going on. Okay, so I think what I might do here on this second intro is drop this an octave. Yeah, that'll work. And that's something I'm never afraid to make those kinds of modifications in my music. That'll make the transition, that probably will work better musically as well. Definitely be physically easier. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to raise this an octave, kind of make that the exact opposite of what it was on the original. And then, yeah, on the final one, that'll work. That'll work. I'm liking that. That's good. That's it. Musically good. Physically, and I would have gotten that, but I do like this, the way that rolls down. So now, excuse me. Let's grab this A section and put it here. Boom. Okay, and then I've got an A, B, A. So let's copy those. We can put that here. I want to make sure this all lines up. And now here it looks like I've taken this. This is okay. So I've taken my A section and I've doubled it in length, and then I've taken my B. So instead of going A B A B, I go A A B B. Classical Ted, hey man, what's going on? Hey, I'm glad you're watching me right on stream. Classical Ted is someone that you guys should totally check out. Go to Classical Ted stream, give him a follow. He is a super cool guy. He does a lot of composition on stream and very, very different stylistically than what I do, but very cool stuff. I've watched his streams a couple times and I'm just like, okay, I'm really not sure what this dude's talking about. Very well-educated musician, very cool online personality. Please go check out Classical Ted, throw him a follow. Yeah, very good stuff. Very good stuff. All right. So yeah, welcome to the stream. I don't think you've ever seen me composing on. It's something I've been doing a little more recently, is doing some of my composition here. And this is, it's kind of interesting too that most metal musicians don't compose on sheet music. So this is definitely a different kind of a thing for the type of music that I'm doing. Oh, you are welcome, man. Absolutely. You are absolutely welcome. I love, helping out the community here on Twitch. And, there's a lot of smaller creators that can really benefit from just having people say, hey, go check this person out. And when I see people that are, if I think you're worth following, then hopefully other people will also think you're worth following. And yeah, so here, now when I've got something like this, where I've gone A section, this quick little sequence is basically designed to lead me into a new section. So I think I want to change what's happening at the end of this A section, because I'm leading it back into the A section. So I feel like that would be a little too much repetition. So I want to change that measure. Oh, Sarita V's on. Excellent. I know her. That's the Sarah that we've been talking about for the last, hour and a half or whatever we've been on here for. I don't even know how long we've been on. We've been out for almost 2 hours. That's great. And Sarah's the one I was talking about. She's got the salicylate sensitivity. She has a website called My Low Sal Life. Sarah, feel free to put your website up for any other potentially salicylate sensitive persons. And also, That's her pinup website, and she does awesome pinups, saritav.com. And she's just an awesome gal, which is why we've actually been together for this long. So yeah, so this measure, I think I'm going to change this up so I don't have that repetition from what I had in that other area. And I'm digging the way this song is coming together. This is working well. So I'm going back into an A section. I'm definitely getting back. So I'm kind of thinking that maybe if I just put this up on 5, that might be enough. And I think in this case, so I put this on the 5, and then if I, instead of just doing straight power chords, if I do the 6 of 5, that to look like that. How does that work? Let's go get a little context here. Totally digging that. Saved. And save often. Do save often, please. I remember the very first time I watched you stream, I was asking about yours, because you were on Dorico, which I believe you still are. So I'm using Sibelius, and I have checked out Dorico. It looks really cool. But one of the things I believed we talked about were that Sibelius is kind of the king program for drums and percussion. And the samples are really good. So I'm actually in this, I'm using, I won't be able to show it to you because of the way I'm set up in OBS. It doesn't show my extra windows. I don't think. No, it doesn't. But I actually set this up for my recordings. I use Superior Drummer 3 as my drum program, and I've actually been able to plug this in with Superior Drummer 3. So they're a little more processed on my final, but I'm actually using the Superior Drummer 3, and then the Sibelius 7 sound set is really strong. And then for the guitars, I'm actually using Contact, and I forget the guitar samples that I use. Let me look at this. They're pretty good. I was using Orange Tree for a while, but these electric guitar samples are, the Evolution Dracus plugin, and it's been pretty useful. It's some pretty good stuff. Yeah, it's good. It is really good. And the main thing that turned me off the first time I tried Dorico, and I don't know if this has been corrected yet. I tried Dorico a few times over the course of the first couple years, and when you would pull up a drum staff, the only drum you could use was the middle tom. So you couldn't put in a snare, a kick, cymbals, anything. And I've always felt that this may just be my personal interpretation, but I've always felt that rock instruments in these higher end notation programs are kind of considered secondary, because classical instruments are, what real composers use. And I'm like, a lot of these programs are used for film scores. One of the greatest film score personalities of all time was Ennio Morricone. Go listen to his film score for Once Upon a Time in the West. It's brilliant, and it's electric guitars and harmonicas and drums. I'm like, yeah. I only know how to do it in Sibelius. I know that I've got several of my students are using MuseScore, which is a free pro. I always lead my people as much as possible to the free programs, and MuseScore is super powerful. A lot of people think that it should be a paid program. I'm glad that it's not. I know in that you can use third-party plugins. So I would imagine in Dorico there should be a way. I know it can be done in Finale. I used Finale once for like 10 minutes. And back then it was when I was primarily using Guitar Pro, when I kind of first started with sheet music programs. And that way it was very limited. And then I tried Finale, couldn't even budget. And then later, I spent about 6 months really learning how to use Sibelius. And now I just basically use it because that's the user interface I'm accustomed to. Headphones that go into guitar amps. So, yeah, so it will depend on your amplifier. And like you and I before spoke a little bit about the possibility of getting an interface and using your computer as your amplifier, which is what it's like what you're hearing here. That's all straight through my computer, and I'm actually the amp sim I'm using is actually a free one called the Anvil by Ignite Amps. And yeah, Classical Ted is absolutely right. So you want to make sure if you get up like a practice amp, make sure that it has a headphone out. Because if it doesn't have a headphone out, then the impedance will be wrong. You wouldn't want to take out like a normal speaker out into headphones because the impedance is all wrong and it'll fry your headphones. But definitely check that out. And if you go to a music store to buy a practice amp or any kind of amp, if it's got that, just talk to them about what do I need in the way of headphones to get this, and they're going to lead you right down the same path to what Classical Ted just said. Yeah, Doc, one thing I'll tell you about Sarah, she's brilliant. And I'm not just saying that because she's online with us here. She is a smart woman. She's got a very good memory. So, okay, so let's do some more. I'm just kind of filling in my areas now. So I've got an exact copy of the ABAB section. So we come out of the intro, we get an ABAB. So let's pop that into the next area. And then we're closing in on being done with the guitars and bass on this. I think I'm probably going to put some sort of orchestration to this, though I don't know if I'm going to do it tonight. I'm kind of having a good time here, though, so I'm not inclined to stop right away. But we've got this break area, and then, of course, we've got the C section. And you need to approach your C sections with caution, people. It's very important. Oh, hey, no problem. No problem. Yeah, go the practice amp then. There's a lot of really great amps on the market. Now, I will tell you that the amplifiers I have here are like high end. And to get a system like what I've got, I've had this stuff for years, but you're looking at dropping like, $4,000. And I definitely do not suggest dropping $4,000 on your initial setup. But there are a lot of smaller amplifiers out there. And I know one of my students picked up, we talked about this a couple years ago, he picked up the Boss Katana. And I have never actually played through a Boss Katana, so I don't want to say from my experience that this is good, but I know a lot of other people who have played them. And there are some very reputable personalities who have reviewed the Boss Katanas, and I have every reason to believe that would be a great place to start. It will probably have your headphone out and all of that, other practice amplifiers, and just kind of go with that. Look for a lot of people online reviewing them, and definitely don't go with just one review. Go watch 15 or 20 different reviews and kind of get an aggregate of, are most of these reviews pretty positive, or did I just happen to find one positive review and everyone else thinks it sucks? Yeah. So, see, like the Yamaha THR amps, I'm not familiar with. And that's, when I was coming of age as a guitar player, there wasn't nearly as much equipment, and it was easier to know what was coming out at any given time. Mesa Boogie comes out with a new amp, and it's like, it's in the magazines, and that's how you fix it. We didn't have internet back when I was, first taking lessons from Kev. So, it was a very different arena, and now there are so many pieces of equipment out there that it can be hard to just track what's going on with releases. So definitely do a bit of research. I'm not sure on the prices on that. Yeah, that's a really good thing to do. And keep in mind here something too is when you're talking equipment, your first piece of equipment is not going to be your last one. Your first guitar is not going to be your last guitar. Your first amp is not going to be your last amp. So you don't have to have perfect. Like when I graduated from high school in '89, I'm definitely aging well, I guess I just told you guys earlier that I just turned 50, so you know how old I am. I wanted a nice Fender Stratocaster, and my parents were in a position to get me that as a graduation gift. And so they bought me this really cool Strat. It actually had dual humbuckers, which is rare for a Strat. It was kind of a nice cream color, had a really interesting locking mechanism on the nut, and it was a great guitar. I played the crap out of that. But probably after I was playing that guitar for around 7 or 8 years, I realized that I really wasn't a Strat guy. And that's not a put down to Strats at all. I've played some Strats that I love, but I tend to be more in the Ibanez Jackson range, and I really do like Les Pauls. Not just Gibson Les Pauls, but Les Paul's style in general. And so I ended up selling that guitar. And over the years, like right now, I own 7 guitars. I actually have an 8th guitar here that one belongs to a friend of mine, and. What Ted just said is so true. So true. It is very much of a lifelong endeavor because you're going to change through the years, and you're going to learn new ideas, and you're going to want to do different things. And I don't know how many guitars I've actually owned in the last 3.5 or so decades. It's been quite a few. I have definitely sold a few guitars. So there you go. And production equipment versus practice equipment. And then here's the thing too. Look up the guitar called Trigger. It's named after Roy Rogers' horse. It's owned by Willie Nelson. A student once asked me if I could play any guitar in the world, what guitar would it be? And I said Trigger. Didn't even have to wait. Now you look at this guitar, it's beat to crap. Okay, I mean it is thrashed and it's beautiful. I love Willie Nelson's music. Everything I know about Willie Nelson, I have reason to believe he's a very cool person. I hope that that's true. I love his music. So that guitar, he had an accountant that just hosed him and embezzled, I think it might have been millions, it was at least hundreds of thousands of dollars in tax money. And the IRS came after him. There's a few different stories of how it happened, but he basically ended up owning nothing but that one guitar. And it's an acoustic guitar. I believe it's a nylon string. And he played that guitar so much. There's a big hole right here where his fingers literally wore through the body of the guitar. And it's just beautiful. And I would love to play that guitar. And the thing is, Willie makes that guitar sound great. Not because it's a great guitar, but because he's played it so much. And there will never be an equipment substitute for just practicing the crap out of your art. So that's another thing about production versus practice is your equipment is not nearly as important as what you do with that equipment. That's so much bigger. I was talking to a band once, and that's cool, isn't it? Orange amps are awesome. So awesome. But they can be kind of pricey. It's from his fingers. Just playing it over because the fingers heal and the guitar doesn't. But I was talking to this band. They had gone and they had recorded, and they recorded I think it was a 4-song EP. They paid $4,000 to do this. And the reason they paid that much was because it was at a studio that Kurt Cobain had recorded at. Well, guess what? The fact that Kurt Cobain recorded there doesn't make your recording any better. That's down to how you play your stuff. Sure, they have great equipment there, but how well did you play? And it was a decent EP. Oh, that is so true. And that's why I so wish my Les Paul hadn't been stolen. I had a Les Paul that I picked up years ago, and it was called Black Wine. I had been looking for the wine red finish, and my daughter was very young at the time, and she called it my wine guitar, even before I bought it. So I was on the phone with her, and I told her, hey, I bought that wine guitar, but it's black. And she said, oh, black wine? That's funny. So it was called Black Wine. And I customized the crowd, changed all the electronics, had a specialized switch for it. There were pickup covers on it. I took to a trophy shop, had it engraved with the words Vanoir, which is French for black wine. Bought a fresh truss rod cover, had that engraved with my initials at the trophy shop. I had the fretboard removed, replaced with a piece of ebony that had no fret inlays. So only up the markings on top. Beautiful guitar, played like a magic wand. Oh, yeah. It's not $4,000 on the studio. That's just $4,000 on my amplifiers, bud. Yeah, that's my Traxxas preamp, my power amp. The speaker cabinets I actually were homemade, but they were ended up being like $500, $600 a piece just making them myself. So that's just on my amplifier stack. The rest of my studio is additional money. And then this is money that I've spent over the course of, again, literal decades. I've never had a ton of money. I am not a wealthy individual by a long shot. That's because I've spent my whole life being a musician. But yeah, over time, you just keep adding to it. And yeah, unfortunately, that Les Paul was stolen. That was probably 12 years ago now. But it was wonderful. Yeah, I loved that guitar. And yeah, Yeah, the lighting, this is something still, and I'm going to say this again, Doc, you need to start streaming. His setup is brilliant. His lights, I've just bought some stuff. I'm going to be kind of redoing the back wall, and I'm going to be redoing my light setup to hopefully be a bit better, but oh man, Doc's light setup is so cool. So cool. So let's compose some stuff, shall we? Just kind of yakking here. So we've got this break section. So what do we want to, so this has been a pretty kind of high speed piece through most of this. I think what I'm going to do here, I'm going to get this to be very bass centric. So I'm going to get the bass going in eighth notes, just on the root. We'll just pull this in, and that's just going to bring us to a resolution, and then the bass is going to take over. And unfortunately, that bass is kind of quiet, as loud as I can get it right now. I'm glad you like the stories. Hey, Doc, you know what? If you want, feel free to put some of those photos in the Discord. And if anyone wants to, join the Discord, feel free to check it out. There's an area in there for posting. Put it in. Show us your axes, because your drum kit's in there. That's an axe. Axes are any instrument. So anyway, I hope this bass is coming through. But this is going to kind of give a good drive to this, and it's going to change the dynamic that we're working with. Sometimes it can be hard to be dynamic in heavy metal music because everything's just full power, and so a change of instrumentation can help with the dynamicism that we're working with in music. And I think I'm going to leave the bass doing what it does. I'm going to copy this, and now I'm going to put this on the 2. Even though it's going to clash a little bit with that in the bass, it's kind of going to be like this note in the bass is kind of going to be like the 7 of 2. And so I'm going to kill the diminished 5 on that, because I do want the power chords in this. No, you know what? That sucks. That's horrible. This is so not. And this is what I was talking about before. I was like, you need to have the willingness to commit to an idea and to delete that idea. And if you just start writing something, you're like, this is not what I want. Boom, gone, garbage. Can it? Do something different. Cool. All right. Here's a big question. Who actually has the Gmail account username at gmail.com? Yeah, Doc Grimm is pretty much Doc's sign everywhere he goes. Okay, so let's do something completely different here. Because that when I played that, I was like, that is so not working for me. I don't really want to go back to an ostinato feel like we've got in the intro here. I don't think that's gonna. I think that'll be best left in the intro. And there's enough repetition of that intro that we don't need too much more. So I don't think that's where I want to go. I'm not sure what's going on. I'll let you guys, you guys seem to know what's going on in chat. I'll let you work it out. I'm going to keep compositionizing here, which should definitely be a word. Okay. Let's try just going down to the root and just doing, let's put the eighth notes on the guitar. Let's basically go exactly the opposite. Okay, here I think I can start working with that. Something just went wrong there. Okay, let's. Why is because I'm using the wrong key, and that'll get you every time. So let's get a little excitement going to the bass. This I like better. You know, it's a very similar concept, but just makes such a difference in how it sounds. And you know, I'm sure Ted is running into this. He does a lot of composition and I'm glad you agree with that. Yes, right. You know, I was just talking to one of my students the other day about recording, and I showed him this. I don't know how many of you guys have seen this before. This is an Edison. I hate Edison because he was a jerk, but the Edison Wax Cylinders. This is an early phonograph, and I don't know if I can get a good close up on. That'll be all out of focus, but this has the phonograph grooves in it. This one is "Put On Your Old Gray Bonnet." Such a fun song. I love this song. and so this would go into a phonograph. The needle would sit on it, it would spin, right? And so this is where the term comes from. You still, I like this term. When you're talking about recording, you call it put it on the wax. Hey, let's put this on the wax. And so they put this wax cylinder in. Well, here's the thing. When you record it on this, if these could hold, I think, about 3.5 or 4 minutes of music, which, fun fact, that is why most popular songs are about 3.5 to 4 minutes. It's because of these from the 19-teens and 1920s. That's where that comes from. Birdbrain, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. Thanks for coming in. I hope you're enjoying the stream. You don't want to beat the crap out of these, that's for sure. But, you know, if you get, 2.5 minutes in and you make a mistake, well, you take that one out, you put a new one in, and you try over. There's no editing on these. With the stuff we've got in just laptops and even cell phones for recording now, it's absurd how much power we have. And, what I was telling my student was, you want to be able to record onto one of these when you're ready to record. But when you're doing, like we're talking about here, we're doing digital composition, you're not stuck with this. It's not putting it in ink. You're not etching this into stone. I can just delete this. Nothing gets wasted. Nothing gets broken. And so just delete the heck out of your work. If it's not what you want, try something different. And I don't know if recursive trauma is still on, but he and I had a lesson last night. He's one of my students. And he was working on a little bit of compositional stuff. He was kind of wanting to write guitar along for a song that his wife is working on. And so we explored some different ways of doing this. And I talked to him about a pottery class. I learned a lot from this pottery class, but I never took it. I just read about what happened. And this was interesting that this pottery professor, I think it was a community college, I don't know where, professor comes in and says, this semester, we're going to grade differently than I ever have before. This half of the class, you're going to be graded on quality. You're going to spend the entire semester making exactly one piece of pottery. It can be a bowl, it can be a vase, it can be a mug, whatever you want. One piece of pottery, you're going to perfect it. This half of the class, you're going to be graded on quantity. At the end of the semester, we're going to weigh your pottery. And the more you make, the higher your grade. Okay. So here's, just make as much as you can. 50 pieces, 100 pieces, whatever you can do. Make a lot of pottery. You're graded on quantity. So here's where the experiment got interesting, is at the end of the semester, they actually graded everything, not for their grade for the class, but they graded all of the pottery on quality. And what was very interesting is all of the highest quality pieces of pottery came out of the quantity half of the class. Because if you spend 6 months working on one piece of pottery, you don't learn nearly as much as making the mistakes. Oh, I made this bowl and the lip wasn't right. Oh, I made this mug and I didn't put the handle on right. So let me try another mug. Oh, let me try this vase. How can I put the, I don't know a lot about pottery, so I'm sure are correct terms. But the point is, by doing a lot, you learn more. And so it's great. We have access to so many tools digitally now that you don't got to sit there and write your music out on paper and then play it on a piano and imagine what it would sound like with an orchestra or however you're doing it. The tools are there. So I told Sean, I said, write 20 different versions of this. Oh, that's a cool story for where your name came from. That's awesome. One thing historians will never have from us is manuscript books filled with... Yeah, that is true. Historians will never have manuscript books filled with crossed out ideas and traceable steps from our process. That is so sad. That is a sad consequence for all the blessings modernity has given us. Great sentence. Love that. But it's true. When you look at old handwritten manuscripts of music, it's all these error marks and corrections and blacked out and change this and change that. And I've always thought it would be interesting if you could program one of like Sibelius or Dorico or something so that after you have done your entire score, you could hit a button that shows everything you changed, like puts in the X's and marks. That would be so cool to actually have that capacity. And it's true, when I get done with this score, it just looks like, it's printable. You can publish this. It looks correct. It looks great. So there's that. All right, so let's put a little more in here. I don't know if I want to do 3 measures straight of this. Sometimes just doing the root, for like 3 measures can be great. So let me, maybe if I was to come in here and now kind of bump it up by matching it with the bass instead of punctuating the bass against it. Okay. Here, I think I'm going to match the drums. This is going to get stupid fast in here. And I think I'm actually going to go to a Phrygian feel. I'm going to flat the second. Just because I feel like it's going to have the kind of aggression that I want this to have. And now here I'll have to go to, triplets. And then I'm going to take this. Okay, let's copy this over. I'm going to put, I don't want to do it that way. And so now I'll be on the 3 and then to the flat 2. And that should be a fairly aggressive feel. Yeah, I'm digging the Phrygian feel in here. And now let's take Okay, so we'll go to the flat 2 here, and I'm just going to go straight eighths on this, up to the 3, and then back to the flat 2. I think we can just do an exact repeat, because in metal, this kind of just straight repeat, just totally, in a lot of kinds of music. I mean, repetition is really important in music. Where are we at here? I actually didn't make things out of glass. I used to work at a place called Spectrum Glass, which we manufactured. It was actually the world's biggest manufacturer of stained glass. So like you see like the stained glass windows, the stained glass, lamp shades. We made the glass that artists turned into those, is what I did. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Anyone who's ever worked off of a handwritten manuscript, holy wow. I actually did a really cool thing. There is, anyone who knows a lot about classical guitar, I'm not sure how much classical guitar Ted is into, but you may have heard this name anyway. There's a composer named Heitor Villalobos in the kind of first half of the 1900s. I believe he passed in like the late 50s, early 60s, somewhere in there. And he put out a series of etudes for classical guitar that are just fantastic. And it was published in 1953. And guitar players have always had these questions about it. And Max Esche Group, who published it, would never answer any questions about it. But there were things in there like, this doesn't make sense considering what we know about Villalobos' style. And so they made an updated version in, I think, 91. Still, there were questions. And then, I want to say in the early 2000s or so, someone actually found a 1928 original signed manuscript. And it's just known as the 1928 version of the 1928 manuscript of the 12 etudes. Oh, it's fantastic. I love Villalobos' stuff. And so the 1928 manuscript is freely available. The museum that has it, even though it is in copyright in many countries, it's been made freely available. And so I went in and I put that entire thing into Sibelius, and I've got my own unpublishable, because of copyright, my own copy of the 1928 man. It was a long process, and this, as far as manuscripts go, this was not even a messy one. It was not there's some of them I would not want to work off of an original Beethoven. I would love to have an original Beethoven, but wouldn't want to work off of it. Okay, you know what, guys? It's time for a C-section. So let's scrub up, mask up, and do the C-section. It's baby time. All right, I'm so glad there are no babies in my house. My daughter is in her late 20s, so I can say that. Okay, so I've got, what do we got going on with the drums here? Got to get a feel for where we're going. So we got this, just a sense of a gallop going on. So I'm going to just throw a gallop in here and see where that leads us. Gallop is, it's really kind of the only rhythm pattern I know of that has its own name, but it's just got this feel of, Iron Maiden used the crap out of the gallop to very good effect. I'm a huge Maiden fan. It just, it's like horses galloping into battle, and it's a great feel. I'm not sure if a straight gallop is going to work well in this case, but let's just listen to it and see what happens, just rhythmically. Yeah, I really like it, except for beat 3, because I don't have the kick in the drums. So I think what I could do here is turn this into a quarter note, and technically I will want it to be 2/8 notes, tied together, because that's more appropriate for sheet music. Yeah, I'm kind of digging that. That's not bad. There's something still not. Let me listen to this again. And then let's take this and we'll go straight 16ths across here. And let's turn this into an 8th note power chord. Yeah. Scalpel time, baby. Time to do surgery on the Randy song. I don't even know what this is called. Oh, this is called Walk Down the Path, off of the album When the Last Heart Breaks. And again, I don't know what order this is going to be in my album release cycle, but it is an upcoming thing. I'm also, I know a few people who have been following me for a while have asked about my vocals. I've been working on my singing a lot lately, and I love singing. I've never been good at it. Last week, Sarah was out of town, and I took the advantage of the not having people in the house to record my singing. And for the first time ever, and this was really cool, I was actually reasonably happy with my vocal takes. And I recorded a few songs. I recorded King of the Road, recorded Fever by Peggy Lee, well, not originally by Peggy, known by Peggy Lee. I recorded Standing at the Airport Waiting on a Train, one of my original blues songs. And I want to say I recorded one other piece. I was quite happy with it. And so I'm getting closer to actually putting out a vocal album. And where what I ultimately want to do is play hard power metal. That is a more aggressive style of singing. So I've been writing an album. Yeah, thanks, Doc. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, that is the exact concept off of the intro to Barracuda. And it's just, they just do it on the E string. But I started writing an album. It's going to be a concept. It's lighter. I don't know if any of you guys have ever heard of Justin Sullivan. He's from a band called New Model Army. And he wrote this album called Navigating by the Stars, which, check out, it's brilliant. And so I'm kind of writing in that style because it's not as aggressive on my vocals and will be a little easier to approach. And I've come up with some really cool ideas. I came up with this riff the other day that I'm just totally digging. I will play it for you. You guys will have the first sound of the album is called The Thief of Time. That's the intro to one of the songs in there. I've come up with some pretty cool stuff. So vocals may be on the way. They may be. I'm still not going to guarantee it. One of the weirdest things here is the emotional impact, because I have self-identified as a bad singer for 5 decades. At this point, it's 5 decades in one day. I turned 50 yesterday. So I have a self-identified, and the thing is, it's not an unreasonable self-identification. This was demonstrable. I sang off key, and it's an interesting thing. And not a lot of people get this, but in my head, it literally sounds perfect. And so I had to learn some tricks be able to hear my own voice accurately. I'm not ready to go public with what I actually did, but about 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I hit on something that set off a series, it triggered a series of realizations about singing, about vocalization. And I've been working on this now ever since then, and it has made just a huge, substantial difference. So yeah, it could be coming up. I'm glad you like that. People have made Seven Nation Army was recorded with an 8-string, not a... yeah, you know, the 8-string guitars have been very popular, and Seven Nation Army, they're a different band. This was New Model Army, but Seven Nation Army by, I think that's Jack White. Very cool song. A lot of students have requested that I teach them that song. It's been a while, but it's a cool song. And so the 8 strings are getting more popular. And what it is the frequencies of those 2 lower strings on a guitar move you down into the contrabass range, which is what gets filled in by what we call a bass guitar, which is technically in the contrabass range. And yeah, they can be used to very good effect. Thank you, Doc. Much appreciated. Yeah, much appreciated there, Ted. Yep, and Sean, thank you. You just turned 4. Happy birthday to yourself as well. I don't look a day over. You know the thing is, I am a day over 49. I just don't look it. You know, the thing is, the way that I was off was actually, it varied from a half step off to a step and a quarter off, approximately, and it was not always consistent. It would sound bad. Like I sometimes singing, I'm 3/4 of a step off, and it's like, it's hard to make that sound good. So, yeah, but it's getting there, and I'm very pleased with it. But yeah, just that whole, I'll do a recording of myself, and then I'll be like, the next day I'll be like, wait a minute, was that really good? Or am I fooling myself? Okay, so I like that. I like it rhythmically. So what are we gonna do melodically and harmonically here? Rhythmic is good. Work with that. Now let's take this up to 1/3 for the first half. Let's take that back to the 2 there. Let's actually put those on the 6 instead of a power chord. Let's see what that looks like. Sounds like. I like that. Yeah, it was definitely microtonal, and it was weird. And if everything works out the way I hope it does, I am definitely going to put out a video about my entire journey to learning to sing on pitch, because I think it could do people a lot of good. I have worked, I don't know if Michael is on tonight. He is the only person I've ever told what I did. He asked me about it, and he's in the same exact boat as me, and he has seen a little bit of progress off that. Does it invoke a trumpet? No. Definitely, if I get to where I want it to be, experimentation will be in order, and I will definitely be putting out a video about exactly what this journey was, and hopefully how other people can use this journey advantageously for themselves. So let's get this lined up appropriately. Cool. So a couple measures. I've kind of been yakking a lot, so composition is slowing. Yeah, that's a good little riff there. And I think, in this case, I think I'm feeling this is a good place to not have a guitar solo. Because most of, when I'm playing live, particularly on stream, which is what most of my live work is these days, it's all of my live work these days, living out in the middle of nowhere like I do. I'm not doing in-person shows. When I'm doing my solos, I'm just making it up as I go on. It's all improvisation. I shouldn't say it's 95% improvisation. So, but I will sometimes take an idea like this and say, okay, I'm definitely going to, in this case, play this as a rhythm. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to modify this rhythm guitar to fill out the chords that I'm using. And so in this power chord, we're using the first and fifth note. So we call them 1 and the 5. And I know Ted is following along very easily with what I'm talking about, as well as he composes. I know that's true. And some people are just learning this stuff, so that's okay. So I've just got the 1 and the 5 of the chords. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take all these 5s and I'm going to turn them into 3s. And so now we're going to have the first, third, and fifth note of the scale, which is what we call a triad, and that completes the chord. And here, I'll also take that to a 3. Now this one I put on a 6 here. So I think I'm actually going to put that one on the 5, because now I'm going to bump this entire thing up an octave. I'm going to have to modify how this sits in here. I'm not sure which movie you guys are talking about. I am having my regular show tomorrow night. The lights will be flashing. I will be still wearing a purple shirt and tie, but jumping around like a rock star and pretending I know what I'm doing with the guitar and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I've never seen that movie. Never have seen that. I fully agree with that, Ted. And it is, I don't know, I think you teach. Is that correct? Because I know that's my primary occupation is teaching music. And all of the teachers I know completely agree with this. We just love doing it. It's so fun. So let's get that so we get rid of the diminished 5. Now, how is this going to be for playability on a guitar? Yeah, okay, I'll do that. Okay, it'll take a little bit of practice, but I'll get there. I will be able to get there with that. Oh, that is super cool. Okay, understood. I've heard good things about that movie before. I didn't know you're also in California. I think Man Rat is in California. Doc and I are both up here in Washington State, so we're all in the same time zone. We got that going on. But it's such a natural inclination to explain. And in here I've got an audience. Man Rat is just getting his first guitar tomorrow, which is great, and so he's very interested in having a greater understanding of this stuff. And as you pointed out, we love teaching it. So yeah, awesome. Very cool. What if I took this? No, that may not work as well. Actually, this could be... What if I put these on the 3? There. Yeah. Then I can bump this to here. And that's going to sound good. It'll still take a bit of practice, but I can work with that. And this is a great thing now, particularly with rock guitars. Rock guitars are very commonly used in pairs. We see this all the time. Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, AC/DC, Slipknot, that Man-Rat was referencing earlier. Most of these bands have two guitars. You'd get things like, Recursive Trauma earlier was talking about Eric Johnson. We were talking about Jimi Hendrix. Those are a single guitar thing. That's a very different stylistic approach. But it's very common to see rock guitars used in pairs. And what we're basically doing here is we're doing part of the chord on one guitar and another part of the chord on a second guitar. Now, if I put these together, this is just a big F minor chord. But with all this distortion, we get a much greater level of clarity by separating this onto two guitars. This could be played on a single guitar, but it's not going to have the same impact as playing it on two guitars. The way I've written it, you probably couldn't really play it on one guitar, but you're just going to get so much more clarity and kind of drive out of this by separating the chord onto two guitars. And the same kind of thing happens in orchestras. We will commonly take violins, and violins can play chords, but it's very common to have the chords split up into different violins instead of having what we would call a double stop. You certainly see double stops, but it's probably quite a bit more. And Ted would probably be able to verify this. I think it's quite a lot more common not to do double stops on violin, and to just go to what we call divisi, or simply put them on violin, the first and second violin sections, or there are a lot of different ways of accomplishing that. And again, it's kind of a clarity thing. Chords are a different quality when played on different instruments versus on the same instrument. So yeah, I'm liking this. Let's listen to this. Oh, I love that. That is so good. That is so saved. And it would be interesting also for me to have like a amount of times saved counter on my system, because I probably save my projects once or twice a minute. I've actually set up a hotkey so that on my number pad, the big 0 key is save. And so my pinky just goes over and just hits that all the time. I will see that my project is saved and then hit the save button, because I just don't like losing my work. Okay, cool. The California kids are doing it. Love it. Okay, so what do we got going down here? So this is what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we got an 8 measure and then a repeat of that. So let's do. Okay, let's move forward here. I think I want to move down to the 7, which I will have to invert to put on. Oh, wait a minute. To get that correctly onto a guitar. And now let's just hold that on the last half of the measure. And actually, I think I'm going to hold that across the next measure as well. And most of the next measure. And let's get into some 16ths here. So that'll be on the... Okay, we're on the 4 there. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that you agree with that. Okay, yeah, and that's, the Guitar Centers and the really big, box stores for music stuff. There are some definite advantages there for that, but in some ways it's nice to have the more personal touch that is sometimes afforded by the smaller stores. think I'm going to take this now. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put this on the 6. And so that is the 3, which would be, okay, that'll work. Let's see how this looks. Grab a bit of information for the bass here. And you know, and in rock music, we often just use our roots in this on the bass. And of course, you do have to be careful of the range of your instrument. And so, and also, you know, as I think I mentioned this earlier, a bass line can jump around a lot more than your upper instruments, depending on the type of music you're doing. You know, if you're playing, you know, classical music, we have much, you know, stricter kind of, I'm going to put this in quotes, rules. I like to talk to my students about these being guidelines for how we write music, but it is definitely a different arena. And I do, I'll say not uncommonly, follow a lot of the classical rules in what I'm doing, but it's a looser use. Oh, so the smoke machine. So yeah, so the smoke machine. This was months ago now. A lot of people will know this story. Some people saw it when it happened. I know Doc was there that night. I know my daughter was watching that night. So I had a smoke machine catch on fire. Edith, thank you very much. Much gratitude for the tip and for the very inside joke reference. Edith is a close friend. So I had the smoke machine. It caught on fire, and it was just a brutal curse word filled adventure out of the house through 3 closed doors, up 13 stairs to kick that flaming smoke machine outside and not burn our house down. And it didn't. We're very happy about that. Our house is still here, as you can see. But so I do still, I don't use a smoke machine, but what I've got is, right now I'm sticking it back in the fireplace, not because I'm afraid of it catching on fire, because it's actually sitting in water, but it's an atomizer, and it's basically like a high-powered humidifier. And so it's just shooting really fine water vapor into the air. And you get just enough that you see the streams of light a little bit, just kind of glowing there. And I'm going to be, I picked up a few pieces of plywood. I'm going to basically cover the back wall. I'm going to paint it completely black. And that should make those show up a bit better during the shows. So, so that's kind of what I got going. And I really, it was a very small smoke machine, but for as tiny as, I mean, this is a big room for, you know, a house. We live in a fairly large house. We're very fortunate that way. And so this is a fairly large room. I think it's about 23 feet from end to end. But for a smoke machine, it's really small. I mean, because those are made for, you know, more theatrical type work. So definitely the smoke was too much, even from that very small machine. So what I really want is just for it to have a little bit of atmosphere in the lights. And once the back wall is black, that should show up a lot better. And so we'll see how that works. That wall will definitely not be up for tomorrow night, but it's in process. So I'm definitely continuing to work on the setup, and we'll see where it all goes. And so yeah, watch for the lights tomorrow night. And it's actually going right now, but I think because I've got this bright white light up here in front. To light me up, it's too much for that to show up in this. So we'll see what goes down with all that. Should be good times. I'm not actually. Let me. So yeah, if you look kind of right, you can just barely see it when I blow the screen up a little bit there. But it's not showing up great because of all the white light in front of me. So yeah, fun stuff. Yeah, it was definitely a shorter. Well, the hazers are like $400, and these atomizers are really cheap, and it is giving me the effect I want. So that's definitely a thing. You know, the green screen stuff can be cool, and you know, a lot of people ask me about green screen, And my only thing, there are some people who use green screens very effectively in their streams. And I would encourage that. The only reason I went with this is because I'm trying to recreate more of a live feeling, even though we are in a digital broadcast style realm. And so by actually having real stage lights, it helps me get more in the mood of being on stage. It's a very different feel, because I've done, I've never been in any bands that were huge, but I've played shows of up to audiences of 1,000, and I love that. It's great. It's a very different kind of a performance online. There's still an audience here. All of that is fantastic, but it's just the interaction is very different, because I actually interact more directly because people can ask me questions. Where in an audience of 500, that doesn't happen. Now if I get to the point where I have 500 viewers, which I would love, I'm probably not going to be able to answer questions the same way. So that will change things. But nonetheless, it's Mr. Flibble. There's a Red Dwarf reference. Oh, looks like it's time for you to spend 2 hours WOO. So you're telling me you want to fly on a magic carpet to see the king of the flower people, and you want me to believe that you're completely sane. Anyway, so now what I've done here is I have inverted these power chords. So the fifth is on the bottom and the root is on the top. And so this is going to treat my thirds differently. So there's a couple ways I want to look at this, because sometimes keeping your thirds inverted, which kind of puts them in a position of a sixth, which is a weird thing that if you're not familiar with it yet, potato people, I was wrong. It's a different concept, but what I'm doing is you as long as you can track where your notes are at, there are a variety of ways to manipulate them. So I need this. So actually, I'm gonna leave these. No, you know what? That could be good. That could be good. Let's take those to the 3. So I was on a 5, went down to the 3. And now the question is, how is this going to look on a guitar? Is this going to be, doable? So I do want to raise these an octave, and I do like the way this works. I will often move things away from. So sometimes I very strongly keep things on open strings, and sometimes it's just the nature of a guitar. I want them off of open strings. That is correct. Yes, what Classical Ted said there. You invert a 3, it becomes a 6. 3 plus 6 is 9. You invert a 7, it becomes a 2. 2 plus 7 is 9. Invert a 4, it becomes a 5. 9. That's absolutely true. I think in this case, I'm going to kill those. And this might work pretty well. And this is kind of a funky thing on guitar, because you can see on this here, basically each line here represents a string. So this would be string 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's kind of upside down. So I'm playing this on string 4 and string 2, so you have to silence string 3. So an open note is a note played on a string where you're not holding down any fingers. So that's just, I'm playing the string on its own. That is an open string. You close the string by putting a finger on it. Oh yeah, okay, when those go together, that's gonna work very nicely. That's a great question. Those are exactly the kind of questions you need to be asking as an aspiring musician and guitar player. Yep, not using the frets, exactly. You're just playing the string to the nut. Or to the capo. If you had a capo on it, that would still be considered open. And in the event that you're not familiar, a capo, you may have seen these before, is simply a way of shortening your guitar. So now I've put this capo on the first fret. I'll go back to the larger view here. So now this basically is a movable nut. So I could put this on fret 3, and now that's the lowest note that I can play. And so if I wanted to, still use a particular chord, that chord is very, very challenging to play. For most people, this would be too hard to play. I can actually pull it off, but it's very hard. And so it's a great way of just kind of having a movable nut. So those would still be open strings in this case. A lot of ways to go about this, but basically, yeah, when you're not using your fingers, it is an open string. That's okay. It's totally okay to have more than one person answering these questions. I know that Ted is a very well-educated musician, so he's probably going to give some pretty good answers here. Slice of frozen butter is a pick. It doesn't last long, but it has a wonderful tone. Okay, let me get that back. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm gonna like this when these guitars get together and make beautiful music. I think I'm gonna be pretty happy with this. Oh, and now I just lost my, and this is something that's kind of tough in Sibelius is, like I said, you can't link stabs, so sometimes I got to move these notes around a lot and recopy them to the original position. But let's take a listen to this. Is just a few measures here, but I'm digging this. Oh yeah. Okay. This is delicious. I like that a lot. I'm very pleased with the way that came out. Let me grab the bass for that. Yeah, actually, I have a cool coin pick story. I had a student for a few years named Mary. Great gal. She's a super cool lady. And she ended up, she's a nurse, and she ended up becoming a traveling nurse. So she just travels all over the country, and she'll be three months here, 6 months in Denver, 3 months in, Miami, just wherever she can be of use. And she bought me a guitar pick made out of a silver dollar. And it was really cool. It had a very kind of weird tone to it. But I played the crap out of that thing, and I actually ended up losing the pick about a half year before Sarah and I first moved in together. And I had taken that silver dollar guitar pick and I had worn it out a little more than halfway. And my plan was to wear it out completely, so that it was just worn down to a nub. I got it about halfway to where I want, and then I was going to give it back to Mary and say, hey, this is how much I used your pick. Unfortunately, I lost the pick, and that didn't happen. Mary knows that story. But yeah, and I also have my normal pick is, I've got these custom printed, it's not in focus, it says The Mad Poet on there, has the website. It's 1 millimeter thick. And then my thickest guitar picks are 7 millimeters thick. And that's actually 7 picks glued together, and then I kind of file down the end there. I'm gonna put my hand behind that so you can kind of see it a little better. Oh, Dr. Hildegard Landstrom. She's wonderful. I'm quite mad. Red Dwarf. Will you ever stop educating us? No, you will not. So yeah, the thing is, these are really comfortable to play with. But if you notice here, up on these higher pitch notes, I don't know if this is coming through very well, but there's kind of a little bit of a chirping sound where the string actually, because there's so much surface area, the string comes back and vibrates against the pick just a little bit and creates a little bit of a chirp. Ooh, a contrapuntal bit in the bass could be really good. Plays like butter. It is hell on your strings. Metal picks are absolutely hell on your strings, but they can be very cool. So that's the balance. What I use, I get these custom made from a website called pickworld.com, and these are made out of Tortex, and I use 1mm. You can also, like the Dunlops make 1mm Tortex. Tortex comes in a variety of sizes. I just happen to have these custom printed so I can hand them out. Here's what I'd suggest when it comes to learning pick technique. One, take at least an introductory lesson from me. My introductory lessons are free. There's no obligation to continue to take lessons from me thereafter. But start with, at the minimum, a medium. I would go for a heavy pick. Heavy usually equates to around 1mm. And the reason you're going to go with a little bit thicker is because they don't have as much flex and give in them. And the reason this is good is it's going to help you develop better technique. A really flimsy guitar pick, you can kind of cover up using poor technique. And technique is going to be a very big deal for you here. So go with a slightly thicker guitar pick. And so like I said, just start with a heavy. And brand isn't so much important. But then once you have developed your pick technique to where you don't have to think about it at all, then go out and buy 24 different picks. And buy picks made from different kinds of plastic and different thicknesses and different sizes and different shapes. You can get them made out of seashells and wood and drum cymbals, and some of them have little grip things on them, and some have holes drilled in them. And just try out a ton of different picks until you settle on what you think is going to work the best for you. And occasionally continue to experiment, because even when you're 5 years, 10 years deep, 37 years deep, your mind can still change on what it is that you like about any given kind of a concept. So, yeah, play around with that. And so first, develop your technique. Like I said, until your technique is so solid, you don't even have to think about it. Then go experiment with a lot of different types of picking devices. Now, I love Ted's idea here. And what I'm going to do for this now, for those who may not be familiar with the term, contrapuntal is a reference to counterpoint. Contrapuntal means that which is done in the counterpoint style. Contrapuntal. And counterpoint is basically, Don, welcome back. Well, also known as one. Very nice to see you again, Mr. Lowe, Mr. Keedick. Lovely, thank you very kindly. So, as a very basic idea, counterpoint is basically a type of harmony. Let's go even a little more big. Harmony is when you have more than one note at the same time. Very, very basic definitions here. Counterpoint is kind of like, instead of two notes working directly with each other, they're kind of two independent voices. And so by putting a contrapuntal line in here, thank you. Switch back to Sibelius. So to put a contrapuntal line in here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having this bass. Right now, it's just doing exactly the same thing the guitars are. So we're going to say, hey, let's have this bass kind of do its own thing. And as you pointed out here, in this area where we've got these drone chords where they're just kind of sustaining, this is a great point to let another instrument shine a little bit. And doing this with I know that the bass isn't coming through great today, but when I get to the actual composition, this will come through a bit better. And as soon as he said contrapuntal in this area, I'm like, I know where I want to go with this. I know exactly. There's this this concept that is very, very common in a lot of different kinds of classical music, where we have this eighth, and then we put these quarters here. So this is going to be kind of a little more rhythmically interesting, in my opinion, than what we've got going on in the guitars. Because the guitars are just, basically, this is just one chord. That's it. There's nothing exciting going on there in a melodic or harmonic fashion. Melodic is a line of single notes. That's a melody. A harmony is a line of chords, basically. You have notes working together, and there's a lot of ways that you can have notes work together or work against each other as a team. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of ways you can do this. And so, yeah, this is a great place for putting a little interest into the bass line. And so here I'm kind of working down to the 5. I think I'm going to give a 3 here. Let's give a 2. And now I'm just going to basically, use this same concept in each measure. So here we're up on a 6, 5. Let's do a 3 there again. And now, see, now here we've changed chords. So here we're on an A. No, we're actually, it'd be more of an F, because we have the F and the A together. F and A flat, I should say. I should do this correctly. Do it. Do terrible things, Doc. You evil guy, you. Hey, it's great seeing you, Doc. Thanks for coming in. Much appreciated. I'll see you tomorrow, and I will be on at normal time. I don't know what album I'm doing yet. I haven't decided, but we'll figure that out when we get there. And maybe I'll be smart enough to update my stream title before I go live. We'll see if I can do that. But I think I'm going to kind of make this jump here. So we're on an F. So that's the. I think I'm going to go to the actual root, to the 2 of that, instead of the root. Oh, and you know what? Now I totally made a liar out of myself. This is all off. There we go. Yeah, I'm digging this. I'm digging this. Great idea, Ted. Thank you. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. And then, I feel like I want to do this again here. So what we've done here is we've played, oh wait, no, I totally had that in the right place. I had that in the right place, and then I made a liar out of myself. I was thinking wrong. So that's where I want it. That was correct. Cool. Now I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have this stay on the root note for a moment. So we're going to do the same idea, but we're just not going to be melodic with it. We're just going to hit the root. So we're on the 7 here, the 6 here, and now I'm going to take this information, I'm going to drop that down to equate to the 6, and I'm not convinced that this is all, oh no, okay, that's good, that's good. So then we'll put that there. Yeah, it happens. Sometimes we pass up a counterpoint opportunity. Yeah, let's listen to that in context, because that was a very solid idea. I think I'm going to change this line just a touch. Instead of doing an exact copy of this, just in sequence down, I'm going to kind of walk us up just a bit here. So we're on D. Okay, so basically, 6, 7, 1. That'll work. That'll work. Yeah, I'm digging that. Great idea, man. Love it. Thank you. Very cool. And then I think what I'm going to do here, very similar to what I did earlier, I'm going to copy, because I often just will do an 8-measure section. And now because we have, this 2-measure section is an exact copy of this 2-measure section, I'm just going to change the chord at the end of this. And I think this, to the guitars and the bass was similar. You mean in the same measures? I'm not sure if I follow your suggestion on this one. Feel free to elaborate if you are so inclined. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put in a diminished chord. And man rat, this does not have to make any kind of sense to you. I'm going to use a diminished chord as a substitution for a secondary dominant. And this is going to give us a kind of nice, gritty, aggressive feel. So I'm going to use a chord that would kind of technically be known as an incomplete dominant minor ninth. So I'm going to basically be going, oops, let's do this correctly here. So I got to kind of figure out where I want to be here. So there would be my 9. Okay, I just got to get my notes in here. So let's get my diminished chord set up. So I'm going to be, so the F is, wait, where am I got wrong here? Oh, wait, no. Yeah, that, okay, yeah. So okay, I'm gonna want, okay, here's the chord I want. So I'm gonna go to a C sharp. I'm gonna go to an F. I'm gonna have a B flat, which I've already got. And then we're gonna have an E there. So that's the way it's currently aligned on there. Oh yeah, that could be really cool. I may visit that in this second iteration. I'm gonna hold that in off to the side for just a moment while I set up my diminished chord, because yay, diminished chords. And this is interesting. I've kind of got this diminished chord set up slightly in a chordal voicing, not entirely chordal voicing, but I kind of got that chordal concept going. Well, technically this is chordal, but because of the enharmonic equivalence, so yeah, enharmonic equivalents get funky. Okay, so let's just hear this chord in context. Oops. That's definitely the chord I want. So now we go through and we talk about voicing. Well, how are we going to voice this chord? So let's put this bass up a bit higher, and I think I'm going to put that on the C sharp. I'm going to leave that with the C sharp for now. And I've got a couple of ideas. I'm kind of thinking, I just want to see how this is going to work on the guitar if I were to separate the chords in that particular fashion. Wait a minute. Wait. I got something wrong here. I got something wrong. Because that is not the diminished chord. I feel like I should. That is not. Okay, what do okay, I've got 4. So this should be a 5. Oh, because that's on a G. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Nope. Not a chordal chord. That's why everything looked wrong. Because I did it wrong. That'll get you pretty much every time. No. This is cool stuff, Ted, and I definitely appreciate your ideas as a composer, because you do have some very cool ideas. So yeah, we'll see where it goes. Always willing to experiment. Okay, so that works. If we put that on 5, so that, yeah, that's pretty doable there. That would be let me switch back to a distorted channel on the guitar. Oh, thank you so much. You are right. This is why having classical composers around is a fine idea. So yeah, that will move us to there. Okay. Beautiful. So these are things that are real easy to miss. Cool. Okay, so now this is on the guitar, so that should be. Yeah. Okay, that works well. And then this one we're gonna have. Oh yeah, that's gonna sound killer together. Killer. Yeah, oh, that's exactly what I want. It's just got that grit to it. Got the grit. That's beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. This is so saved. So now, yeah, what if we experimented with taking this idea? So there's a couple different ways I could think about this. Let me give this a listen. I want to listen to this whole C section. Yeah, you know, I think right here, that's actually a really good idea. We're going to take this idea. So here's what I'm going to do. How do I want to do this? Okay, I'm going to take this idea. I'm going to plant this right here. Okay. Now I'm going to flatten out the bass line. So the bass line is now going to be doing what the guitars were doing. And so this, let's move this to an F. I think that's what I had before. And then this also to an F. And that'll gives that nice octave jump down to that. So now this is going to be how we gallop along. Oh, this could have some cool ideas for some chord inversions and stuff too. We can do some cool playing with voicings in this. Okay, so let's. Let's fiddle. Okay. Oh, this is gonna be kind of a wild ride right here, and I like that. Just 8s, okay. Oh yeah, oh that's gonna be cool. That is gonna be freaking cool. And I may only do one. I may leave this guitar as is. How are those gonna sound together? No, I may need to, I'll probably need to mimic the guitars. Probably need to mimic. I'm gonna start these with just straight power chords. Yeah, this is a cool rhythm here. And not quite the normal way. Hey, Giovanni, what's going on, buddy? Yeah, this has been just a really fun stream. Had a bunch of people yakking away and just having a blast with it. So welcome to the stream, man. We're writing a song. We are having a dropout is what we're doing. Okay, I think I might have gotten funky there for a moment. But yeah, we're writing a song called Walk Down the Path. And it's just a good driving metal thing. And we've had a really fun community and people giving ideas and stuff. And so just, yeah, cool. Great to have you here. Okay, so yeah, this is a kind of a funky gallop. I'm going to try to play this in a moment. Once I get this in place. Okay, and I think, yeah, definitely dropping things in octave is where I want to at least start. And then what I may end up doing is kind of doing some inversions and stuff and seeing where things go. So this is going to end up just being a straight gallop. So this will be, because I didn't go contra. For now, I'm just going to follow. I could change all this later. Because this one was just the D chord all the way across, D note all the way across. Okay. I'm just going to go with, just to end this section, I'm going to go with the 2/8 notes there. So let's just see how this looks on a guitar. I'm using my keyboard. Yeah, I've never been a MIDI controller guy. I know a lot of people are. And I think the main thing for me is I've never been a piano player, so I don't know the keyboard as well, and I've just kind of developed my way through knowing my own shortcuts and how I like to approach it, and it's interesting because I've got a lot of students who are very piano oriented, and they kind of have to think of, okay, how does this look on a piano, and then they translate that to guitar or to sheet music or whatever they happen to be working on. And I'm the exact opposite. I have to think in guitar. Thanks. Yeah, and it's just, when I watch people doing it on a keyboard, I'm like, man, I don't even know how these people make this function. By the way, I'm glad I was watching you. I tried to send you a tip, and it got kicked back. It appeared that your tipping system was not set up. I tried to throw $5 to you. So feel free to check that out, because I would love to, throw a little your way, because you do pretty awesome streams. I just thought of that. So how's this going to work on guitar? Yeah, I'll have to kill that diminished 5 there. This is going to take a little bit of practice, but that is going to be pretty cool. It's a very different way. Oh, okay, yeah. That is so cool. That is so smeggin' cool. Okay, digging it. Nope, I gotta fix those. Yeah, a lot of people definitely don't like it that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let me know when you're up and running. I'll throw another one your way. Absolutely. So yeah, I want to say it kicked back like maybe like a week later or so. I got an email that said that it didn't go through. So, okay. Oh, I love this. This is cool. So let's put these here. Now up here on what I think of as the lead guitar, I'm going to move them back up an octave. I'm going to grab all of my top notes. Oh, I think I'm just going to the fastest way is going to go through and click them. And I'm going to bring these to be thirds instead of fifths, so we fill out that triad. Okay, so this now will be this line. And yeah, I'm probably going to have to play with positions on a few of these things to end up getting this working. But it is definitely cool. Okay, I can work with all this. That's going to go there. Let's bring this to here. Okay. Yeah, this is workable. This is workable. This here. This has been one of my more fun online composition streams. I think that this actually, in the bass line, it was accentuating the guitars. As I'm listening to this in context, I feel like it's a little too rigid. And so I think what I'm going to do is just I'm not going to go with a strict gallop all the way through. I think I'm going to make these quarter notes. No, where do I? Something's hitting slightly wrong here. I definitely like the sound of it. Let's try making this. Okay, then here. This is going to be a little funky, but I think it might be kind of cool because I'm going to end up having. I think I'm just going to have fives. But let's turn these into quarter notes. Okay. Okay, yeah, that works. That works. Of my tritone or my diminished fifth rather there. Yeah, I did, and that was because of the gallop. And I know exactly what you're saying, but I do like where this is going, and I think I'm going to continue to follow this path because this is kind of, now that I've broken up that rhythm a little bit. I feel like this is feeling pretty good. And here, I think I'm going to go with a quarter note as well. Let me try that. Yeah. like that. That is cool. I know you were talking about a slightly different concept there, but I like where that ended up going. That's okay. That's gonna work. And that fills in the song. This song is complete. I'm probably gonna put some sort of orchestration to this. I'm not gonna do it tonight. But I will very likely add some sort of something else on there. And I've got, oh, there's my empty measure there. Yeah, no, it's cool. And then, you know, people will come up with and you know, I'm sure you do this too. You come up with an idea like, oh, what if I do this? And then it kind of takes a slightly different path, and you're like, oh, dude, yeah, I like that. I'm going to go down that path. You know, or it could be your suggestion or someone else's or your own or whatever. And yeah, no, that's just how the whole kind of process works. So here's the big question now. Can I play this? So let's do something here. Let's go back to the beginning. No, I'm on the wrong song now. That's If Yesterday Could Bleed. So Walk Down the Path. Okay. So let's only play so I'm going to let the upper guitar play because I can only play one of them. And then I'm going to try to play along with this. So I'm going to ask you guys a quick question here. I'm going to make this bigger so I can see it. Relative volume of the guitar and the sheet music. Let me actually move right up into here because that'll be a very playable part. Just let me know if this sounds reasonably right. So it's if the guitar is overpowering or the music or whatever. Let me know. How's the balance here? Is the guitar too loud, too quiet? What do we got? It sounds reasonable to me over here, but I don't know what you guys are getting. I'm not hearing any opinions on it. I'm going to assume that this is reasonable for you guys, and we're going to try this out. Okay. So I'm going to have that guitar played by the score. I'm going to play that middle guitar. Whew. I've never played this before. Okay, reasonably balanced for Giovanni. We're going to call that good. I was about to hit R for record like I was in my recording program, but I'm not. So I'll hit play, and let me actually back this up to here. So I've got a little bit of a lead in. Okay. Oh, this is going to be tough. This should be fun. This should be fun. That's gonna be tough. Stop that. Not sure where I'm at here in the chat. Cool, yeah. Yeah, that is, I agree. And that's something, Ted, I have said to my students many times is don't just write stuff that you can play. You should have to push yourself like that. I definitely missed. I mean, it's my first time playing through it. I'm okay with that, but like that little intro riff. I'm not playing that right. I know I'm gonna have to sit and I'm gonna have to be like, yeah, I'm gonna be playing that. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be playing that slow. And you know, as a teacher. And Giovanni's one of my students. I might have a couple other students still in here. You know what I'm saying. We are constantly begging our students, slow down. And one of the problems, I'm glad Giovanni's watching this because this is a really good thing for people to see is I don't play this right the first time. I mean, I played through. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I like the piece. Once I get some guitar solos in there, that's gonna work well. But man, there's some parts in there I'm gonna have to practice. You know, some of those rhythms are a little different. You know, the way I did the gallop in that area, and yeah. And so I'm gonna slow this stuff down, and you will not sound like this after 1 hour of practicing. That is an accurate statement. I wish I could give you better news. I did realize I didn't put a conclusion in this, so I should probably put that in. And I might just let this ring out at the end. I don't know. We'll decide that later. But yeah, slow down. Oh, it's you know, it's funny. I think I've told Giovanni this story. A few years back, I read a couple of books written by guitar teachers from the late 1800s, early 1900s. So, you know, books over 100 years old. And no surprise here, but over a century ago, teachers were saying exactly the same thing they're saying now. Work on your, hold your instrument right. Get your technique right. Slow down. Practice your scales. And that has never changed in the entire history of music pedagogy. That has always been the case. Right. Yeah. Well, you know, the funny thing about that, you know, I don't really sight read. I'm reading tablature, which is it's a type of sheet music. It's perfectly legitimate. But like when I'm playing the rhythms in my shows, I don't have those memorized. Fortunately, I'm pretty good at faking it with my own music when I need to. So sometimes I'll flub things a bit, but when I'm doing my solos, it's just improv, you know? And when I used to play with like the metal band I used to play with and the punk band I used to play with, I mean, that was all memory. We didn't have any sheet music on stage for a punk band. Come on. And I loved playing with Hades Machine. Such a fun band. We had a freaking blast. And yeah, so it's great, Steve. Tomorrow's show will be at 8 o'clock Pacific time. I believe you said you're in California, so 8 o'clock for you. I haven't decided what album I'm going to play yet, but I'll pull something out tomorrow morning and set it up, get the lights going, and we'll see what happens. It should be another fun stream. This has been one of my longer streams at 3 hours. And I'll tell you, I actually want to see who's on, because I should raid someone. I think I'm going to raid Yamez today, because I was on his channel the other day and he promoted me and I got like 10 people out of it. It was freaking awesome. So let me actually, I'm going to find something here. So stick with me for just a moment, gang. And then we're going to go beat up on Yamez.
I believe his name's Martin.
Okay, so we're gonna. This guy, he does some very cool stuff. He's a singer, songwriter type, and he does some electric guitar. Just a very cool personality. Does some very good stuff on stream, and I'm glad to help promote him. So I've only rated once before. Let's see how this works out. And I feel like I'm going to need to do one more thing here. Here we go.
He's playing chess. Hey, beware the mad poet is raiding with a party of two. I better stop talking and play the raid song. How's it going? How was your stream? Your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers, someone who cares. Your own personal Jesus. Someone to hear your prayers, someone who's there. Feeling unknown when you're all alone, flesh and bone by the telephone. Lift up the receiver, I'll make you a believer. Take second best, put me to the